No. Tip-in Ferris wheel and... Was it Andy or Clawble? And the messages at Donington. I assume the rest of that message. I assume the rest of the message. I'll fill it in. He was a legend. He didn't do my head in as much as John. No, because you see, that was his fault. You see, that was his fault. You see, he misinterpreted what I was saying. That's, yeah, fair play. What was he? What was it the other week? What was I going to say?
Good evening, Simplay Motorsport. Welcome to tonight's drama. It is Catalonia, Barcelona here for round 9 and 10 after the no racing last week at Cota in the Pro Series. We are back live for some drama here at the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. Then I'm your host Matthew Duffin, joined in the commentary box by Kelly Davis. He should be joining us momentarily. He is just away at the toilet at the moment, so he should be joining us live very, very shortly. But what a night we have in store for you here this evening. It's going to be an absolute cracking race, that is for sure. It provides to be probably one of the best races this season because the weather could play a massive part. Good evening to Kelly Davis, who's just joined us in the commentary box. Kelly, the weather today looks an interesting one. We could have absolutely clear, beautiful sunshine like we've got at the moment. It could be overcast, it could be full cloud, dark clouds. We could even have the odd rain shower or two. It is unpredictable tonight, and I think that is pretty much what Catalonia could be, the racing could be tonight.
Yes, good evening everyone. Sorry I'm late, I was in the wrong comms box. It's an age thing, don't worry about it. Changeable positions here in Spain, absolutely. So another interesting night ahead. Plenty of drivers, plenty of action, and could be good, Matt, could be good.
Could be absolutely fantastic. It's already provided to be a great season. And if we take you back to a fortnight ago where we was at Zandvoort, we saw that of Williams and O'Reilly going, bumper to bumper for 70 minutes. It was
that was great,
fantastic.
Yeah, and if you haven't managed to, if you didn't manage to join in and watch it, you can always watch these back on YouTube. All our history is there, 5 years of it. Some great action on there. Of course, don't do it now because tonight's action is about to start. So I think the whole season's been great. So hopefully, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have another cracking night tonight.
Indeed, we shouldn't. We are expecting 30 cars out there on the grid tonight, and the championship standings look a little like this. The drop scores have obviously taken shape after that third week on the tables, and it is Silf who leads the way on 219 points, 10 clear of Williams, who's been phenomenal in that Mercedes-Benz, and me and Kelly have touched on it all season. Torlock P3 from Oza, P4, he's had a good season. O'Reilly and the Honda doing well in P5. Hupert not here tonight, P6. Ben Rook, P7 from Carlos, P8. Turkin Koglu's P9, he's not here tonight. Dan Davis up into 10th. De Bont is 11th with McGowan 12th. Overtaker 13th, he's not here tonight. Jamal Clouden 14th. And then it's your gold leader, that of Mike Matthews, just ahead of his teammate in second in gold category, Matt Wright. Will Friedman's then 17th. 13th, third in gold is Snai, who's 18th overall. Then it's Skunky, Ledger, Hibbs, Goudet, Zampolini, Starlog, Meyer, Hoffert, Van Zyl, Cairns, Ramsel, Lino, Cardno, Millington, Clace, Harris, Hayhoe, Smith, Sullivan and Stein. The constructors' standings then read like this. 30 points difference between MSA and Dapper Racing. Yin Yang Racing are P3 with the Bam 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 Racing Team P4. Team Audio Sport are 5th ahead of Cloud9. Simplay Racing P7, Team GBR are P8. Team RRM are P9 with Roadrunner Motors, Greasy Bandits, AS Racing, Ballbusters, Full Send Fjord Lords, Quantum Motorsport, Effect Motorsport and the Afrikaans Racing Team already. The championship tables look absolutely fantastic. The track temperature is 39 degrees. Beautiful sunshine. We're in for a cracking night, Kelly. Barcelona is one of them circuits. This is why it's our hot stint circuit. It's got a bit of everything. It's nice slow corners, technical areas, fast corners, flowing corners, long straights. It's one of them well-rounded circuits that can provide great drama.
Yes, you say that, and of course Formula One use it quite regularly as a test track for the testing early doors, but I'm not a big fan myself. How about you?
I'm not a massive fan, and I tell you what ruins it for me is I like the first two sectors. I think they've got a good rhythm to it. It's after the hairpin in this last sector that ruins it for me.
I don't know quite what it is. I think there's I feel like there's a lack of good overtaking opportunities. There's a lot of, turn one is you can do it, but it's not easy, I don't know. It just, as I say, I've never really clicked with it. I've kind of gone all right here in the past, but never really clicked with it as a track I enjoy. But, each their own.
And we go to a track next week, Kelly, as well, by the way. It is I think it's one of my underrated circuits, I feel. Hungaroring. An oversized go-kart track is how I like to refer to the Hungaroring, but I feel it's one of the underrated circuits. Tough on tyres, a tricky, challenging track. Yes, not a lot of overtaking again there, but it's better in other ways, I feel.
Actually, I quite like Hungaroring as well. They call it the Monaco without barriers. I like the flow of the Hungaroring. I like the one corner after another configuration and the flow of it. So I'm looking forward to that one, although there isn't a lot of overtaking opportunities, but there is a really good one into turn one. So there is one really good overtaking opportunity. So but Matt, that's next week. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, that is next week. It's going to be an absolutely jam-packed week of racing at the Hungaroring next time around. You're not going to want to miss that one. Pro-Ams on Wednesday night with Dan Davis, GT for Ginettas, the Who Darren Cup Tuesday night with Dan Davis and Alexa Marsh. Some sweet stick in your box next week. But we are on about this week, and we are on about now. Speaking of now, a couple of just honourable mentions for tonight's race. Dan Davis, race 1, 350th race start here at Simplay Motorsport, so a great honour to him. Benny Varga got his 100th race start on the Ginettas series, as did that of Sny. He got his 50th race start in the Ginetta series. O'Reilly took his 50th podium in the Ginetta series on Tuesday night as well. So just a few mentions there, just to sort of top us off and start our day. But 350 appearances for Dan Davis, great achievement. Obviously, there's a few drivers already reached out more, the likes of Peaceful Explosion, Mike Matthews, Ramey Fernie, Gary Leach, and DJ Phil Green have already, Phil Atherton, as we now know him, have already got to their milestones. But another feat for Dan, and you know, drivers starting to hit these milestones. What we're starting to see, if you've been a long-time Simplay Motorsport viewer, is these names at the top of this list are getting few and far between. There's more people hitting 50 and 100 races than hitting the bigger numbers. Obviously, we've lost the likes of Fury over the years, Sooty Apex, Welshie, Sky Shundelmeyer's not been here, Smithy's not been around for a while, PM Motorsport's up on that list. So we're starting to see these numbers not happen as much. So the fact that Dan gets that achievement today. Race 1, reverse grid start 6th, so not a bad grid position for his 350th.
Yeah, could do well from there, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of less of us long-termers here now, isn't there? You know, so I don't know what my race count is, or yours is, Matt, for that matter. But who's at the top? Who's done the most races?
Well, Phil Atherton's done the most with 463. Yourself, Kelly, you're up there on that list. You are 11th on the list, 224 races you have achieved at Simplay, just behind Dean Wasocki. I myself am 289 on that list. I'm 7th overall, but DJ Phil Atherton, top of that list, from Gary Leach, Ramey.
I'm not surprised.
He bar recent seasons, DJ Phil always did anything and everything. Didn't he?
Absolutely.
It all. Yeah. But you've got names on here, and I'm just looking at the top sort of part of this list. You know, Smithy, Sooty Apex, Welshie, PM Motorsports, Little Leach, not been here, Big Boy Brazier, Stealth Sloth, D Biggs, The Goat, and Plava, Keegs, you know, that Mozzie Boy, Rabbit Joe, Leon Fernie, you know, a lot of great names on that list.
Absolutely, and half of them have been teammates one way or another.
Yes. Yeah, they have. But some great names on that list. So that makes his 350th race 1 this evening. We've got 40 seconds left to practice. Now let's just explain the way the weather works, whether it's for yourself or anybody else out there that's watching in the chat. The weather, when the session is reset, goes live. So the weather has gone live from 11 o'clock on the Saturday morning. Okay? That will then be taken into account of every hour for then the next remaining sessions. So let's not forget, race 1 is 15 minutes. So if on that weather clock it says it's going to rain in half an hour, that could be raining at 1:45 the hour. Let's not forget that. Then we've got all them hours in between the end of race 1 and free practice 2 on the Sunday. So anything can happen at any point. We've already seen in practice sessions from last night into just before we reset the server today, there's been rain showers, it's been cloudy. This is the nicest it's been, which is pretty typical, because in the practice from the reset of Pro-Am last night, there was a lot of rain clouds around, so it's quite typical that this is now the best conditions that they've had. Pro always get a bit lucky.
Yeah, they always get lucky. They're always blessed, aren't they? I tell you, it won't rain at all the whole session because it's pro. But I was going to say, it's a bit like the unpredictable. It's a bit like Silverstone at the weekend. Yeah, Michael vouched for that because he was one of the guys that was there, Mike Matthews. And we saw him on TV being a star. So, yeah, that was changeable conditions. That could be a bit like that here this evening. But as I said, it's pros, so I doubt it. They always get,
Somehow,
touched with with good luck and weather. So it always seems to work out that way. Yeah, who sets up the weather then?
So the weather is set by a website called AccuWeather, and then we take that weather and we look at it from. So we take it from the day before. So the weather was locked in yesterday. So yesterday's weather, when me and Mike looked at it for 11 a.m, midday, and 1 p.m. We take an average of the 3 hours. There was thunderstorms at 11 a.m, which was quite a lot of rain as well, falling. 1.9 not quite a lot, but 1.9 millimetres of rain was set to have fallen in that hour mark between 11 and 12, which is why we have the conditions we've got today, and that is set. It's taken on an average, so the temperature is taken on an average of the 3 hours.
Okay, so as real as it can be. As real as it can be within the realms of what we can do.
That's what we certainly try to do then here.
Excellent. And we have a poll.
We do have a poll. Race winner.
I think that's going to be possibly a slam dunk tonight. Possibly. But we'll see. I'm reverse grid, of course. So that's Silth is the man at the back of the platinum, bronze. Yeah, make your mind up.
Yeah.
Right, platinum group. So that's Silth at the back of that, and Williams in front with Tardok in front of that. And as they go up to the front, of course, your gold category is reversed as well. So the pole for gold, as it were, is Rob Smith, and that would be Mike Matthews at the back. So he's leading the gold category, as we deduce from that statement. So
obviously this is taken as well that Zampolini isn't. This doesn't mean that Zampolini's last in platinum. It just means that he is the first.
The least points.
He's the one with the least amount of points that was available to race tonight.
That's here tonight. Yeah, I got
that.
Not
that one.
Not an awful lot going on in the chat this evening, but if you're out there and you want to say hello, we've had a hello from Tibbs, and good to hear from you, mate. But we would like some more chat. For some reason, Silth has stopped. Why has he stopped? Is he waiting for someone? What is he doing?
Maybe out of his driving frame. Sorry, we just had a bit of lag there. One moment for the driver. It's now put Jamal Cloud at the front of the pack, so not sure why. We're down to 26 cars, it's saying. Just looking at Discord, Cobb got disconnected. We've also lost Will Friedman. We've actually lost 3 drivers on the formation laps. That'll be Cobb, Will Friedman and Zampolini. Now these drivers can get back in.
I hope that's not the start of a problem.
Well, we have had a few problems all week. Tuesday night we had a few Ginetta problems. Last Thursday night there was a couple of problems.
That's why we weren't here.
Yeah, we had a couple of problems last night, but they sorted themselves out. It's not classed as a mass disconnection. That has to be.
Yeah.
I can't remember what percentage of the grid it is, but it has to be a lot more than just 3 drivers at the moment.
Right, so we continue, and hopefully it's not a problem. It's just.
I tell you, the other one is Stardog, who's missing as well.
Right.
But I also can't see Will Friedman. No, Cordno is in. So Cordno's message must have been late. Oh, I've read that late. So Cordno is in. So we've lost. We've lost we've lost Stardog. We've lost Friedman. We've lost that of Zampolini. Then, so hopefully they can get back into the server and they can get the race underway. Well, that kind of ruins the driver poll because 2 of the names aren't in the server at the moment. So Jamal Clouden leads this race from Ian McGowan. There is no grid graphic tonight, unfortunately. For DeBonte's third. Dan Davis 350th race P4 now. From Carlos, Ben Ruck, Kieran O'Reilly, Umut Oza, Tardok, Williams, Silf to round out the Platinum Group. Then it's Rob Smith, Hayho, Harris, Cordno, Ramsell, Lino, Cairns, Van Zyl, Hoffer, Skunky, Goudet, Hibbs, Snide, Wright, and then Mike Matthews.
Yes, indeed. So, We come down through the chicane. It's the old GP layout, the very old GP layout of Catalonia. So we've still got this chicane that some love, some hate, but we've still got it. So we're coming around the final corner as they start to. Hopefully, they keep their tyres in temperature. Track temperature is 37 degrees, so it's reasonably warm on the track. 30 degrees ambient. So ready to go. Their tyres will be warm. They'll be lining up. I'm sitting on board with Sylph.
It's green and go, Kelly, but it's two drive-throughs. One is Mike Matthews at the very back of the pack. The other one is Cardno. Will Friedman's managed to get in the session, so we'll be able to get this race underway. And they're going 3 or 4 abreast down in towards turn 1. Dan's looking to the outside of that of Ian McGowan. Breaks around the outside. He's gone from 4th to 2nd. Heck of a start from Dan Davis here. Ben Rook as well. Bit of drama with O'Reilly in the mid-pack. That looks like Umatoza, who's had to take to the escape road. But Clouden got away well, and Dan moves up into 2nd place. McGowan now sat in 3rd. De Bont lost out a little bit. He's got Oza looking up the inside of him on the exit of turn 3 in towards 4. Drive-through penalty speeding in the pit lane for that of Will Freeman as well. We have got other drivers back in, and not the start to this race, and a few of the people would have wanted, especially Mike, back of the pack drive-through penalty.
Yes, indeed. There was a little bit of argy-bargy mid-pack, nothing too serious. Rob Smith in it somewhere, and Sylph had to get out of the throttle a little bit while they kind of sorted themselves out. But from what I can see, no real harm done. Williams, Tardock, Sylph, all in close company, as well as De Bont in there as well. Back towards the bottom of the top 10 at the moment.
Indeed, so we're just watching down with Rob Smith. It looks like he's having a bit of a fight with that of Michael Harris, who's come up the order. He's got that of Tobias Hoffer looking up the inside in towards the hairpin is the Mercedes driver. Gets up the inside, does Tobias Hoffer. Lovely move that from the Mercedes driver. Van Zyl up in 15th from Hibbs. Looks a pretty clean start though, Kelly, already in this race. Goude's dropped off the back. I say a clean start, and then look at Sidecar. That bonnet is lifted a country mile. Him and Mike Matthews look like they've got a little bit of damage. Mike giving him a flash there for a bit of contact. I'm not going to put that one on Sny at all, because he cannot steer that car for love nor money. Cairns as well has got bad damage. So does Ramsell and Cardno and Skunky. Well, I said it was a clean start, and there's about half the grid at the back, all with big damage. They can all pit lap 1. The problem is Mike Matthews' damage. He's got to get a drive through out the way first, and we've already got 1, 2, 3 cars in the pits.
Yeah, Stilth must have. As I said, there was a bit of argy-bargy in the middle of the S's in the first lap, but I don't think that Stilth had an awful lot of damage. But would see more than that. His pit stop wasn't particularly long, Dan, Matt, so he couldn't have repaired much damage.
No, he either couldn't repair much damage or he just got it done and on his way. So we have got 29 drivers now in the lobby. I'm not sure who is now missing. We was set to have 30, but either way, Clouden leads this race. Dan with the fastest lap, but it was the opening lap of the race. Heck of a start from Dan. We're currently watching McGowan as Mike Matthews clears the drive-through penalty. He's got that of Carlos hunting down the back as McGowan, with Dan Davis just in front of him. Jamal leads this race, though, for the Cloud9 Racing team at the moment. McGowan hassling the back of Dan Davis. Going to drop down to Oza, who's on the back of Ben Rook at the moment as well. Umatoza, been a quick driver this season since making his appearance back at Monza. He's going to be one to keep an eye on for sure in this championship this season. The lead of the pit runners is out of Sylph. Mike's done his drive-through and has got to go again in this one, though. Cardno, Kleiss, Zampolini and Stardog are out there, so I'm not sure who the driver is that he's missing. We'll figure that out when we do the points. But Ian McGowan is putting that pressure, Carlos still putting that pressure on onto the back of McGowan. There's a few battles happening elsewhere, Kelly.
Absolutely, and of course, it's where the action is usually where Dan is, and it's very much so. Carlos on the back of McGowan on the back of Davis, and Clouden pulling away a little bit as Dan has just started to reel him in very slightly since the chicane. So good exit and good straight line speed for the Lamborghini. As Carlos having a look down on McGowan. McGowan's still got the inside line, but it looks like Carlos has got the job done. No, McGowan keeps his foot in. Yeah, Carlos has got the job done.
Yeah, good move there from Carlos. Lovely little move at turns 1, 2 in towards 3. Then they come down the straight. Carlos can now try and chase down after Dan. What that has done, though, Kelly, is it's brought Ben Rook and Umatoza onto the back of Ian McGowan at the moment. So that is not what McGowan would have wanted. He's dropped off the podium now, and he's got that of Ben Rook and Umatoza catching fast so far early on in this race. We've had the first 5 minutes. De Bont's just gone off in the background. Strange little off for him there at turn 5. It's an awkward corner. He's made a bit of a hash of that one. Tordok now your net lead pit runner as he comes out the pit lane, or is he? He is indeed, I believe so, as everybody else comes through. Did Sylph get him? No, Sylph got ahead of Tordok, so it still is Sylph waiting for that timing screen to update. But Carlos now still defending from that of Ben and from Oza. In fact, if you look in the background, look, De Bont coming under a bit of pressure from the Ford Mustanger Rob Smith.
Absolutely, and still close racing towards the front. Carlos cleared McGowan. He hasn't reeled down in at a rate of knots, although I mean he's only 7/10 ahead. And closer now as they come into the chicane and get a yo-yo effect as when the cars break together and then accelerate as you get the yo-yoing as Daniel gets into the traction zone, gets the power down, and again kind of a static gap out to Clouden. He's got breathing space of about a second at the moment, which is, he can run his race. I'm sure Dan's more concerned about what Carlos is doing than what Clouden is doing right now. So but this battle for the lead is far from done. There's plenty going on at the front, and what else is happening?
Yeah, there's a few battles happening up and down the field at the moment. John Gooday's on the back of Hey-Ho coming down in towards turn 1. Oza has been into the pits. Lino is now into the pits as well. So I'm still trying to figure out who is missing from this race at the moment then. Like I said, I do believe there was 30 drivers listed on that grid. I can only count or see the 29. But we go back to that lead battle. Dan not catching Jamal at all. He's lost another tenth. That gap has gone up to 1.1 tenth of a second. And Carlos on the back of Dan Davis now.
Yeah, he's reeled him in now. Carlos is going to start giving him a hard time. Carlos is not afraid to roll up his sleeves and get stuck in. So this could be a very interesting battle coming up. And McGowan and Rook will be right there to pick up the pieces if there's any kind of contact between Carlos and Dan.
Indeed. There will. We'll have to keep our eyes on who this is. Dan's lost another 2 tenths between himself and Clouden, and Carlos is there. McGowan's not fell off the bike. Ben Rook's P5 to Bont's down in 6th. Still being hassled by Rob Smith at the moment, who's clear of his teammate Michael Harris. He's got Van Zyl for good company at the moment. Ben Hey-Ho has got that of John Gooday on the back of him. 2 drivers who raced each other hard in Pro-Am last season, made the jump up to Pro this season. And it's so far so good for both drivers. Hey-Ho had a bit of a slow start to the season, struggled to score a point in the first couple of weeks, got his first points, I believe, back at Zandvoort, so started to come of good. Rob Ramsel's behind them, but that isn't for position. That'll be Rob Ramsel a lap down. John Gooday has pulled into the pit lane. Zampolini, Kleiss, Stardog all still to pit in this race as well. There's not just John Gooday, we've also got Harris and McGowan in the pits.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Kelly. Rob Smith's around on the back of De Bont coming into 1 and 2. De Bont was also on the runoff area having a massive moment, so I don't know if contact was made just as we changed over. Smith around and De Bont off.
Yes, indeed. We missed that one. We can't be everywhere all the time. Kieran O'Reilly, fastest man on the track at the moment, with that purple next to his name, being that he is the quickest man, but he'll still have a lot to do. McGowan is now the lead pit because he was in 4th place when he pitted. 3rd place when he pitted, 4th place when he pitted. Yeah, that was right. So he's now the top man who's pitted still. Got
Kelly, sorry, I've just had a look while you were saying that. It is Sylph who's the top pit runner. There you go, it's just updated now. So Sylph is the man who's top pit runner.
He's flying then.
McGowan has got Oza and O'Reilly for company at the moment, let me tell you.
Sylph must be absolutely flying because he came into the pits. He was 16th when he came into the pits. And
I suppose he's just got out the traffic clear area while McGowan's been in that fight obviously with Dan and Carlos, hasn't he? So Sylph clear it. O'Reilly's the one who's got the fastest lap of the race. That is a 43.9 at the moment, and as you can see, look, the cloud has really came over here.
Yeah, well, Sylph is actually, although he's not the quickest, he's set in purple sectors. His lap 3 was purple. His lap 4 was last sector was purple. So he's flying in the 44s at the moment, low 44s.
Dan Davis, De Bont, Van Zyl, Rob Smith all into the pit lane then. That's leaving a handful of drivers left to do their pit stop, but it is Jamal Clouden who leads from Carlos from Ben Ruck. Now, this is the fight down for 10th, 11th and 12th, and this is the fight really to see who's going to be in and out there, around where the pit runners are. Dan and DeBont heading out the pit lane now. Sylph is coming down the start lane. Let's go on board with Sylph a moment. Dan, the P removed, so he's come off the pit limiter. Can he get up to speed before Sylph gets there? Quite easily, I'd say, at the moment. Dan looks like he's going to stay out in what will be net second place. This puts Sylph in a very good, when Carlos pits and Ben pits, this could put Sylph in a net third or fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how that pans out. At the moment, there's a bit of a gap, but Sylph is going very well. But then so's Clouden. Clouden putting in on lap 5 was putting in purples, which we're on, was putting in purple sectors, first and second, and in the very low 44s. So Clouden going well as well. So Clouden's got a good chance at winning this one this evening. Yeah, and I think the bonus for Clouden is, Kelly, is that he had that good start, nobody alongside him. He didn't have the fight that Dan had towards the end of Dan's first stint, did he? He was just able to keep that clean air, keep that consistency, and do some good running in this one. And Clouden, who I'm sure will be looking for a race win, obviously trying to up the heat and up the tempo. We will get his first race win for a long time for Jamal Clouden. It's been unusually long for him, but did he win one last season? I don't think he did he? He came close at Spa. Matt Wright won that one in the Nissan last season at Spa. Jamal come very close there. Jamal is into the pits, as we say. We're watching the fight of Oza, O'Reilly and McGowan on track at the moment. So Ben and Carlos staying out on the circuit. Looks like Hey-Ho has come into the pit lane as well. So they can all be released at the moment. Where are we? So Clouden's away. Dan's just coming through the chicane as Sylph and everybody else come into the chicane. And I think Clouden should be out of the pits got this before Dan Davis. Let's hop on Dan Davis. Wait for that P to remove next to Jamal's name. That'll mean he's off his pit limiter. He's off it now. Here comes Dan Davis. This might be a little closer between Dan and Jamal than it was Sylph and Dan, you know. And it is going to be a lot closer. Possibly back down to that second, if not a little bit more. One more lap, Jamal could have gone. Dan could have possibly been the net leader of this race, but we've got a fight on here for the lead. Hey-Ho will be coming out the pits, so it's Sylph, McGowan, then Oza, O'Reilly, that of then Williams and Tarlock. Stop, no penalty. Ben Hey-Ho's speeding in the pit lane. What a shame. Tarlock's now fastest man on the circuit. And down the order, Matt Wright, 15th, Rob Smith, then it's that of Harris. These will all be promoted one as they've got past Hey-Ho at the moment. Where did he come back out on the circuit? He's only just after pit exit, so he's down the order. Absolutely. So people popping up in the chat. Good evening all. KLF needs a new mic. Are you buying it, Susie? That'd be lovely.
No, it was crackling. It's calmed down a little bit since. So it was just crackling a little bit. It has stopped since. John Goodage has gone up the inside of Tobias Hoffer. Hoffer has that inside line for the next part. John gives him the room. Hoffer has a bit of a wiggle and has a wiggle into the side of Goodage and taps him around a little bit there. Good evening as well to Chris Daines, who I don't know if he'll be a disgruntled man after this sacking of Christian Horner. I know he's a big Red Bull fan. He was at my house watching the Grand Prix on Sunday.
Ah, right, there you go. Well, good evening. I had a phone call from a guy called Chris as well this week. Yeah, asking, he was at loose end, asking me about a job for team principal, but I said we're all right, thanks. Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Horner, if you're watching. I know he tunes in regularly.
Regular viewer, especially after Mike should have done these rounds at Silverstone last weekend and told them all to like and subscribe and tune in. But we've got a race on for the lead here. Half a second splits Jamal Clouden and Dan Davis at the minute. So Dan seems a rejuvenated driver in the second half of the stint. We're going to go drop down the order a little bit because Umatosa defending heavily into turn 1 from Kieran O'Reilly. The Honda looking around the outside at turn 1. Can't do anything there. Oza looked like he got a little out of shape into 2 there, Kelly.
Got deep into 1 and then was out of position for 2, but Kieran O'Reilly couldn't capitalise on that at all. Dan's closed right in on the back of Clouden. I tell you, I've been on board with Tardock, as I do quite often, and he's got stuck behind the huge, massive Mercedes of Williams, because we know that Mercedes is probably the widest one in the world, and get stuck behind him and you get stuck forever. And Tardock doing his best to try and get past, but nothing doing on that one.
Chris just loves Maxi said in the chat there.
Oh, who doesn't? Who doesn't love Max?
Exactly. Who doesn't love Max Verstappen? As Kieran O'Reilly quickly moving on. He's onto the back of Oza still. Oza just trying to move out the way of that line. Williams as well. They're in a fight with Tarlock, as Kelly's just said. De Bont's with them as well. Leaders on the final lap. Now that's because Carlos and Ben have pitted in the lead of this race. Car number 15 into the pits as well. That's Hayo for his stop-go penalty in this one at the moment. And Tardock out of shape coming in towards the hairpin. He's got De Bont going right around the outside him here at the moment. Here comes De Bont side by side with Tardock. 3 corners left of Catalunya. Backs out of that one. Has a bit of a slide in a moment himself and managed to compose himself and kept going down the straight. So Jamal Clouden should now take the Nets lead of this race. Carlos is off the pit limiter. This will be close, with Carlos. As Dan pulls out now. There's Carlos, Dan and Jamal. Jamal gives Dan the space now as he pulls back to the racing line. Dan Davis up the inside. Takes the lead on the last lap. Carlos slots into 3rd place. And it's Sylph there for 4th. It is 4 for the lead. It is then 4 for P5. Just behind. A great battle that Ben Rook has come out into. Clouden's not going to leave this one to die though. He's going to have a look back up the inside in towards turn 4. Not alongside and off. Dan manages to stay in front. Drop back down to Ben Rook and Oza. Oza and McGowan got ahead of Ben. Ben slots in between Oza and O'Reilly. But Kelly, Dan did what he needed to at the exact moment.
Absolutely, Carlos is still in this one as well, as you said. So we got a 3-way battle for the lead, and this is the last lap. So we will. Dan's just got a couple of more corners to take his first Fanatec win, and on his 350th race as well.
His first win in 2 seasons, Kelly, because he didn't take a race win last season. If you remember, he hasn't taken a win yet this season. He's got the last sector to negotiate. We've got a 4-way for the lead. There's a 4-way in the background. O'Reilly's having a look at Ben. Carlos nearly into the back of Jamal Clouden. That's opened the door for Sylph, who will slot through and take 3rd place. And that is an opportunistic move from the driver in the Max Verstappen Red Bull liveried Ferrari.
Absolutely. Sylph's come from nowhere. He's had a hell of a round.
Heck of a race, yeah.
He really has. He was, as I said, in something like 16th when he went in for the pits, and he's now here within touching distance of the lead. But I don't think he's going to do anything about it, because it's going to be coming round the last corner and taking the checkered flag for his first win in 2 seasons, and 350th. Race. The winner is Dan Davis.
Yeah, Dan Davis wins the race from Jamal Clouden with Sylph in 3rd, Carlos P4, McGowan from Oza, from Ben Ruck, from Kieran O'Reilly, Williams 9th, Tarlock 10th, De Bont 11th. Then comes Van Zyl in 12th. I'm reading it out like it's a horse race at the minute. They're all crossing the line so close together. Then it's Hibbs from Matt Wright, Rob Smith from Michael Harris, Lino down in 17th place. We can have a bit of a breather. He comes to the line. Goudet and Hoffer not far off the back of him at the end of this one after their little moment. Mike Matthews down in 20th. Didn't repair the damage, it looks like, on Mike Matthews' car, but he had that drive through early on, so that's what has hampered him in this race. So far for him, we're just waiting for all the others to cross the line, and I'll be able to find out who that pesky driver was that didn't turn up tonight.
Pesky driver.
Yeah.
I'd like to say good evening to Bungle this evening, or Andrew, as I like to call him, NRL Andy. Good evening, Bungle. Hope you're well. And we've got Gary Carbull as well. Great drive from Dan. It was a good one. And good evening to. That's about it, really. We've mentioned everyone else in the chat. If you've got something to say in the chat, please let us know. Bring up a subject. We'll talk about we'll talk about anything. We're known to talk about absolutely anything. But again, that's race 1 done, Matt. That's the sprint. Maybe we'll get time to breathe.
Kelly. Sorry, because Rob Rams was right on the rear of Snai, and Snai gets to the line before him. Job done there. Here comes Hayho to the line as well. So that then is the first race done. That is now the sprint done. What a race it was as well. It had everything. But Dan Davis, 350 races and a race win to his name. What a race it was, because he didn't look like he had a pace in that first half of the race, did it?
It didn't look like he had the pace to take it to Clouden. He had close company from a few guys there who were looking to take it off him. He looked like he was more defending than attacking in the first half. But Matt, you only have to lead the last lap. That's the only one you need.
Indeed, we didn't have Will Friedman in. That's who we didn't have in. I wondered why.
How could you forget Will?
I apologise to Will Friedman. We didn't have Will Friedman. I thought I saw him rejoin. Obviously, he wasn't able to. In this one, but we'll take a break though from this first race. We'll catch you in about 10 minutes time. Don't go anywhere. And basically, to everybody who called Dan Golden Ball, fuck you.
Well, yeah, that's the best way, isn't it? It's really difficult to not talk about the guy who fucking won the race, isn't it?
In fact, back in a second, I'm going to go and say that to him.
I'm going to go get a cup of tea.
No,
I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, no worries. Right. Is Dan there? First of all, congratulations. Second of all, if you don't want people to call you Golden Ball, stop winning races. Right? How can we not... How can we not talk about you? Yes, we did, yeah. Okay, now. Why? Brilliant. What happened to you, Mike, at the start? What happened to you at the start? Oh, I don't mean the start of the race with the damage. I mean, sorry. Right. You didn't spin a car into... Nobody spun a car into Matt Wright, did they? No? You're all good. You're all good. All right, bastard. Was you caught up in that, Rob? Collins fourth. Williams. Didn't start. I don't know what happened at the start of the race, but 3-4 people got disconnected. Yeah, I think they are. It is nothing you can hear, dude. Nobody spun you into you, did they now? That's alright. I'd hate for you to put a ticket in on one of the teammates. I'm over it though, Matt. Matt, I'm over it. Don't worry, I'm over it. Matt, I'm over it. Don't worry. It's the bomb to love it. Yeah. Yes, Dan. Please, 27th. Oh. I'm not. I'm using the PlayStation one. Which one? Am I unmuting the desktop audio or the browser source audio? Right. Yeah. On the browser source. Or... Right, so that to 0. Yeah, that to 0. No, they both say 5 plus 5,000. I've done it. I've sorted it. Yeah, no worries. I've sorted it. Right, cheers, dude. At least somebody told us. That massive chance of rain, you've all been testing in the wet a little bit. And what do you get for race 1? Dry. You're fucking so lucky. You're so fortunate. If that were GT4s, it'd have pissed it down. Hoon it down. Matt Wright leads gold. Fucking what a guy. You used P2 in Class C? Oh no, sorry. No, yeah, sorry, Hibbs, yeah. Apologies. Yeah. No, actually, because everybody crossed the line at one go. I didn't even say who was the fucking gold winner. Oh, if you don't like it, put a ticket on me. So, fuck him. But I'm over it, Matt. You got disconnected at the start. No, I don't. Dan Davis becomes the most successful. Oh no, he doesn't. He's one. Yeah, no, second most successful driver here. Go on, Dan. Yeah. No. Kelly did sound commentary though. What was the moment you said? You was watching Dan, and then you went because you know all the drama happens around Dan, and I was like, oh for fuck's sake. You do. Just going to the toilet. Right. Best of luck, race 2, lads. I'm heading back in the comms box.
Oh, we're on.
Right. We'll go back live in 5, 4. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to Simplay Motorsport. What an opening race it was. It was an absolute belter at the start of this one. A fantastic race from all in this race one. Dan Davis taking the win on his 350th appearance. But still leads the championship way from Umatosa now in second place with Brendan Williams P3. Tarlock's in 4th from O'Reilly. Carlos is 6th from Ben Ruck. Dan Davies moves up to 8th from Hoopert. Jamal Clouden climbs into the top 10 from Ian McGowan, then De Bont. Erkin Koglu down in 13th place. Matt Wright, P14, he now leads the gold category after Van Zyl took the gold win. Mike Matthews is 2nd place from Overtaker 16th. Snai is P17 from Will Freedman. It was Freedman who was missing in race 1 as well, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Skunky then P19, then Hibbs, Ledger, John Gooday, Van Zyl, Hoffelino, Zampolini, Stardog, Cairns, Ramsell, Meyer, Harris, Cardno, Smith, Millington, Kleiss, Hey-Ho, Sullivan and Stein. The team's championship is MSA from Yin Yang Racing, Dapper Racing, Team Audio Sport go ahead of Bam 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 Racing. Yay. Cloud9 at P6, Team GBR P7, Simplay Racing P8 from Team RRM, Greasy Bandits from Roadrunner Motors, AS Racing, Ballbusters Racing, the Full Send Fjord Lords, Quantum Motorsport, Effect Motorsport and Afrikaans Racing down the bottom of the grid. Kelly, what a start to race 1. It was an absolute great, fantastic race.
You know, this season has been all action all the time, as they're all slowing down now in the last sector. New rule this season: you can't overtake in qualifying in the last sector. It looks like Formula One, where they're all just waiting to get that gap. Racing has been such action-packed this season that we've almost haven't had a chance to chat about anything else. And you know, normally we cover such great subjects like pineapple on pizza, cheese on toast, how you make a cup of tea, and all of the other great subjects that we're well known for. But it's been all action, and so far it hasn't disappointed tonight either.
No, it hasn't. It's been a fantastic night.
Are you eating?
Mm-hmm.
What do you eat? That's not very professional, is it?
I was on mute. I didn't expect you to stop, so I took a gamble on a second bite. Oh, right, you didn't
send me to stop. That's a fair comment that you didn't expect me to stop talking. I can keep talking.
Gambled on a second bite of my burger. But yeah, it has been a great night's worth of racing. We're into qualifying now. I believe Cardo's got to serve a qualifying ban that he should have served last week, but obviously with no racing, he serves it tonight instead. So we'll keep our eyes updated on that one. But Cardo in for a qualifying ban. We're currently on board with Tardock at the moment.
Absolutely, and just while Matt's tucking into his burger, just a quick discussion point: gherkin in a burger. What's that all about? That can't be right, can it? Anyway, moving on.
Give or take a gherkin.
No, it's just wrong on every level, man. Absolutely wrong on every level. So it looks like are we on the hot laps? Tardock with a 43.9. Possibly, yeah. Okay, it looks like the hot laps are coming in. Tardock the quickest on a 43.9. I don't know what the ultimate pace was in practice, or what the ultimate pace has been. We were doing 44's race pace, so I think there's probably a little bit to come on top of that. It has cooled down a little bit, not a lot. It is overcast now, and looking overcast for certainly this session. But track's running at optimum, so Tardock with the fastest time. Carlos Clouden goes into 3rd place, just half a second off the ultimate pace at the moment. Still lots of runners to put a time in, as the timing sheet seems to tumble like a fruit machine now, as Zampini goes fastest with a 43.8. Just a 100th faster than Tardock. And who else is making moves? Mike Matthews second behind, as is Zandvilth, and they are a second off the pace at the moment, so I'm sure they'll come up with some quicker laps. 1.2 off the pace for Dan at the moment, race 1 winner, and so he's got some time to come as well. Who am I on board with at the moment? I'm on board with Tardok, and he's coming into the final chicane again. Tricky little chicane. Right-hander into a left-hander, left into a right as you go onto the back straight. Really quite tight. If you get on these big sausage curbs, unsettles the car terribly, especially on the last one. You get up and over that curb and unsettles the car terribly as he goes over the line and goes quicker at a 43.7 now, a tenth in front of Samplini, and Carlos just another half a tenth behind that. And who else making moves at the moment? And O'Reilly goes fastest in the Honda with a 43.7. So O'Reilly has just joined the party and is now quickest man on the track. Are we going to tumble any further? Possibly. Williams, who's been very strong through this season and is giving the MSA boys a real run for their money. He's only currently lying in 10th. But I say currently lying in 10th. That is only 6/10 off the ultimate pace. So 6/10 at the moment, splits 1st to 10th. So I mean that is quite incredible as usual. But that's the kind of level that we look forward to every week. And so who's moving quickly at the moment? And where's my old friend? I was looking for Ben Rook. Where's Ben? He's currently sitting in 7th, only 3/10 off the pace. And you think 3/10, you think that can't be bad, can it? That's nothing to get. It's 3/10, but believe you me, it might as well be 3 days. It's just to gain those tenths is so incredibly difficult. Loads of cars on track. In fact, from what I can see, everybody on track except Cardino, who's I believe is on a qualifying ban, so that would be while he's in the pits. But everybody else on track as Tardok goes quickest, 43.5 now, so he's gone quickest again at the moment. Where's Silth in all this? He's just getting himself ready for a hot lap, I think, just slowing down into the chicane. He's coming through the chicane and into the final turn to start his hot lap, so we'll see what he can do. 2.5 minutes left of the session. Still time to get a quick lap on the board. And Tardok now, Carlos goes into 2nd place. That must have been a quick lap from Carlos. He's now into 2nd place, just 100th behind Tardok. So again, we're down to 15th place, covered by just 1 second, as most of the cars are on track and still jostling for position and trying to find that sweet spot and that ultimate fast lap. 70-minute race coming up, mandatory pit stop. Who's going to go all the way on tyres? I think it's going to be a little bit touch and go on this one tonight. I think it might be tricky. By that cough, I would say Matt's not choking on his burger. He's just clearing his throat and his back.
Yeah.
And all right, burger nice?
Burger was lovely. I've not been able to finish the second one. I'm too full.
Second one? You had 2?
Yeah,
oh my
small.
God, isn't it? The way you live, isn't it?
The missus makes a lovely burger. I will admit this. Chris, if you're still watching, she makes a gorgeous burger. As
yep.
McGowan comes around the final corner. You're saying about tyre changes. So yeah. I suppose weather's going to be the biggest factor in that race, Kelly.
Absolutely. And so again, looking at our graphics at the top of the screen, and if you see the little weather graphic, that gives us what's happening right now, what's happening in 10 minutes, and what's happening in 30 minutes. Now, is that relevant? This is the same session, isn't it? This will be relevant to the next the race.
Not really.
It's not.
No, because this session is 12 p.m. on the Sunday, so that next 30 minutes. So we're on what? If we press drive on, hey ho, here, look, it's 12:09 on the track at the moment, real track time. So the next 10 minutes will be 20 past. Yeah. The next half an hour will be 22. So
yeah,
the race could, that by the time that half an hour comes, 10 minutes after that half an hour could be a rain cloud. So let's wait and see what's going to happen. Drivers starting their final laps. If not, they're going to be completing their final runs here. The 116 down the order. That's who are we going to look at? Let's try and find the car 17. O'Reilly has gone quickest. Go on, the Honda. Beautiful looking car. Umatosa P12 at the minute. Bit of a shock. Dan P13. But saying that, like you said, Kelly, 8 tenths, it's not a big margin, Find a couple of tenths, all of a sudden, boom, you're at the top sharp end of the grid.
Yeah, and sometimes you can find that time from absolutely nowhere, and you think you could trundle round and round and round, not going any faster. Then all of a sudden you'll have a lap and go 0.6 faster. And like, where did that come from? Where did I find that? You know, it's small margins need absolute precision. That's the fact of the matter. And we are talking, you know, we live in a world these days, if you follow Formula One, if you follow touring car, where a second is a long time. But it really isn't, you know. So to be 0.3 off the pace, let's say 4th place there, you've got Samplini, 3/10 off the pace. 0.3, it's the half a blink of an eye. It's nothing, you know. But it's small margins, so every braking zone, every apex, every traction zone, all of them make the difference at putting together that absolute perfect lap. And are we going to have a better one? Is it going to be O'Reilly on pole? Is anybody go quicker? Well, O'Reilly's done, so that's the benchmark.
That is the benchmark. Williams moved up to P8. Here comes Silv. He moves up into the top 4. Dan Davies coming around the final corner now. Where will he move up to? He moves up to P11. It's not a great jump up the order for him, but he makes a couple of steps. Hayo up to 18th place. The 117 is next. That is Rob Smith next, coming around the final corner. We've still got the 34 of Harris and the 17 of Umut Oza. As Rob Smith stays P16, Harris comes into the pit. So just Oza to go. But at the minute, Kelly, it's looking good, looking very good for a pole position for Kieran O'Reilly at the moment.
Absolutely, and we always love it when a Honda does well. So Oza coming round into the last corner, just got to get the power down over the line. Is he going to improve? Yes, he does. Goes up to 6th.
Goes up to P6, so O'Reilly does take that pole position. There is a bonus point for pole position, let's not forget. Good evening to Fred Flanagan from Canada, from Montreal, Canada, so good evening to Fred.
He's not at the Kawasaki Centre anymore. He's on the other side of the world. He's on his holidays. And he holidays for like 6-8 months of a year. Nice. It's all right for some, isn't it, Fred? We're missing you already. Adam was crying today.
And if I'm correct, Fred's the guy who had the banter with you about the fuel.
Absolutely, and the gearbox and everything else. He works for the Kawasaki Centre next to Audio Sport Towers, and there's 2 floors. That's towers. And Adam's there. If Adam's watching this evening, good evening, Adam. I know you're missing him. You know, it'll be all right, mate. It will. He'll be back soon enough. Anyway, enough of Kawasaki talk.
Did the spare jerry cans that he had fill his plane to take him to Canada?
I think so, yeah, and I think the plane got there, it didn't run out of fuel, and the gearbox was fine, so...
all good then. Well, I'm glad he got there nice and safe. Hope you enjoy your time in Canada. Montreal, he says, is where he's at. We've got
I'm glad to see that you're still following us. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's impressive.
Don't forget to tell all the Canadians to like, subscribe, and if you in the chat haven't done so already, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you want to, and hit the bell to be notified. Kelly, we've got an absolute awesome looking grid here, if you ask me, in this, especially the shop and the top 5. That could be juicy.
It could be chaos as well, Matt, to be honest. It could be, you say top 5, 6, 7, Clouding even 8th, doing well. Williams goes well. Ben inside the top 10. I mean, there could be carnage into turn 1. And, anybody in the Platinum group could be leading this race by the end of turn 1.
Also, can I just point out that all of the Platinums have qualified together and all the Golds have qualified together. So it just goes to show that, you know, what happens in a race happens in a race, but in terms of that 1 lap qualifying pace, that's pretty good.
Yeah, seems to be absolutely spot on, certainly for tonight. This being the benchmark track, as you said before, we use it for our hot stints, and and Formula One obviously follow us and use it for testing as well, because they all quite often mimic what Simplay does and the way we do it. It is the test track of choice. So it's a good leveller.
A great leveller, that has to be said. So it doesn't look like we're going to get Will Friedman back for this one today. Van Zyl looks on form a little bit. The gold race win in race 1. Gold pole position here as well. So pretty good for Van Zyl today. He's going all right.
Absolutely, yeah. He's having a good session, that's for sure. He's leading the
No, Matt Wright's leading the gold
Matt's
category.
leading right. Okay, Mike Matthews in there as well somewhere, isn't he?
Mike's
in
second,
that category.
yeah, Van Zyl I think's a little further down, but coming through.
How many rounds are we through now? We're not half distance yet, are we?
No, so half distance is different because obviously we're running the 13 weeks for pro, in which we've lost Kota. We're obviously down to just the 12 weeks, so halfway for pro is next week. Halfway for Pro-Am and the Genettas is Genettas is 3 rounds a night, so unsure with that one, but for the Pro-Am it's either race 2, it's sort of race 2 next week and race 1 of week 7. That's kind of like that halfway mark for them.
Did we have any? Did the admins make any decisions over the future of Kota? Will it get rerun?
Kota for pro? No, I think Kota for pro was cancelled.
It's gone.
I'm pretty sure that was the outcome of that one, which is a shame to lose Kota from the calendar there. Obviously, we was all ready to go.
I don't think many of the pros will be quite upset about that. But it's a shame that we lost a round due to technicals. Not our fault. ACC's fault that time, I believe. Yeah,
yes, the game's fault. Not even Conti G Portal for the servers. It was Kunos and Assetto Corsa competizione. We know there's a big update coming. Rumour is, I think Jamal was telling me the other day, it's believed to be August. Big update, and from what we believe in the update, possibly some tracks, possibly some cars. The only 3 cars I can see that's coming would be the BMW M4 Evo, the Aston Martin V8 Evo, and probably the Corvette, the Chevrolet Corvette. Tracks, who knows? We've obviously got like Manicor, Hockenheim and Jeddah that was all on the GT World Challenge last year. I'd personally love the GT Asia tracks to come. We've only got one of the Asia tracks in Suzuka, and by the GT Asia I'm talking Sepang, I'm talking Fuji.
Fuji.
Sugo was always a good track. I enjoyed Sugo. Sooty Apex, Sugo, Project Cars 2 in the slicks at Kota. Nearly took pole position, if you remember right.
He really did, absolutely. Yeah, different world that was. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think Sooty's got it in him anymore.
No, different
you
world.
You was a cracking driver at Fuji. You really was.
Fuji, I was. And
Sepang's just a beautiful circuit.
Absolutely. But hey, that's then, and this is now, and we're ready to go.
We are ready to go. It's 39 degrees track temp. It's green and go here at the start of the race. It's light cloud overcast at the moment. It's a great start. Looking in the background, 3 wide already between De Bont, Williams and Jamal Clouden. This could end in absolute tears coming down in towards turn 1. Tordok covered off that of Carlos. Zampolini's now going to look up the inside of Carlos in towards turn 1. Through they go. Williams on the grass a little bit. Gets kind of squeezed out there. Carlos manages to stay ahead, but we've now got Tordok and O'Reilly side by side through turn 3. They go. Coming through this third corner. That of Tordok to the outside. Carlos now has a run on him on his inside. Zampolini having a look in the middle. Breaks a little early. Still fancies a look around the outside now of Zampolini. It's a great little fight here. Jostling for positions everywhere you look. Tordok and Carlos still going at it for second and third. Zampolini may fancy following Tordok up the inside. Nearly makes contact with the rear of Tordok. Oh, there could have been handbags there after this race, after that one, let me tell you. But Tordok hands on for second place. Zambolini 4 from Silfa with Toza. And then Williams going to have a look up the inside of Cloud and can't do it there. But a relatively clean start, Kelly.
Yeah, it looked like it from where I was. I was on board with Oza for most of that, and it looked like a pretty clean start. Everyone behaved themselves, which is completely different to what I was kind of predicting earlier. So good driving from everyone, nice and clean as we get to the tail end of the first lap in the heavy braking zone, and certainly down to 10th. They all get through there nice and easily as well, and all still in very close company as you would expect after the end of turn 1. So good start here, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're watching down in 15th and 16th place. Smith and Harris, the 2 teammates for Utopia Motorsport, going at it in towards the final sector. They go line of stern now as they come into the chicane, and a great opening lap from the pros there. It is going to be that of O'Reilly, who leads the way from Tordok with Carlos and Zampolini from Silf and Oza, Jamal Clouden from Williams with De Bont from McGowan, Dan Davis, Ben Rook, Van Zyl from Matt Wright, Rob Smith, then that Ford Mustang horsepower coming down the straight to the inside line of Matt Wright in towards turn 1. We saw Clouden defending there. Rob Smith up the inside of Matt Wright. Job done. Thank you, Mama, for the carrots. Harris and Sny were side by side. Bit of a door bang there between them two. Sny then has a little wiggle. Mike Matthews fancies coming to the party. They continue to bang doors as handbags are thrown through turn 3. Matt Wright's coming back up the inside in the foreground of that of Rob Smith. The McLaren just better through turn 3. Mike pulls very wide to the outside inside of Harris. It is all handbags round here. Mike can't find a way through. Did his teammate though on Rob Smith? No. Matt Wright still attacking Rob Smith. Can't do it now. He bails out of it. What about Snye and Harris? Harris stays where he was. Mike fancies a look around the outside. That could open the inside up for Tobias Hoffer. It is all go down the bottom end of the grid.
Absolutely, it's close company at the front, not quite so much drama, but they're still really close. Williams on the back of De Bont and Sambini on the back of Carlos and Tardok. Looking at O'Reilly for the lead. O'Reilly spent a lot of time last season looking at the back of Tardok's Mustang. Now it's the other way round, as O'Reilly doing a cracking job out front at the moment, keeping the MSA boy honest.
That Honda in its Japanese power trying to use its I say power, it's more going to use its cornering speeds through this middle sector, especially into the final sector. But the Ferrari's great at turning in on the nose. It's fantastic at it. So the Ferrari equal to the Honda. And look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all line of stern at the moment. O's not a million miles off the back. Bit of a breathing space and back to Clouden, who's got De Bont and Williams and McGowan and Dan and Ben Rook for company. And then you have a bit of a jump back down to the gold category of Van Zyl. Let's go back down, checking with Mike Matthews. Dropped off the back of Snye a little bit. Then there's Hoffer, Hibbs, Ramsell, Goudet, Hayho, Stardog, Clace, Cairns, Skunky, Cardno, Lino down the back of the pack. What were you in at, Kelly?
Sorry, Tardok got incredibly close to the back of O'Reilly into turn one, outbraked himself a little bit and went deep into the corner. It was, I was pushing on my own pedal at that point, trying to stop for the pair of us. But he got very, very close. O'Reilly came out of the last corner, got up on that sausage curb, unsettled the car, but that Honda's got good traction, really good traction, pulls away from the low speed.
Not as bad as you thought, is it, eh? Quite good.
I'm always a fan.
Yeah, always a fan. Yeah, coming through then. Carlos and O'Reilly and Tardok just started to pull away a little bit now from that of Carlos. He's just got Zamplini on the back of him with Sylph. Not close enough to make a move, but close enough to be a nuisance at the moment. Coming through towards the second DRS zone for what would be in the Formula 1. The ECOs are just not getting quite onto the back of the other cars. In the background, it looks like Dan Davis has passed McGowan as here comes Zamplini looking up the inside of Carlos into the hairpin. Pushes him a little wide. Contact was made, and that could allow Sylph through on that of Carlos, and it does allow Sylph through on Carlos. Zamplini up another place. Still gets a little sideways. All on his own, just touched the curb. Carlos will have it back, and Umatoza might fancy this as well. No, he doesn't. Tucks back in.
Little bit pushing, shoving some Zamplini there. Don't think Carlos will be overly happy. Sylph had a run, but drift of the evening for Sylph there, and the catch of the evening, to be honest, that was epic.
Yeah, good little catch out. Let's have a look down the order. De Bont's got Williams keep hassling him. Dan Davis then with then. He's got past McGowan, and he's just pulled away a little bit from McGowan. It's now Rob Smith in the Ford Mustang that leads over Van Zyl then in this gold category at the moment. Now, don't forget, there's no different points between gold and platinum. They all score points for overall finishes in the race so far. Everybody will score points because points down to 30. So everybody will get a point, but Rob Smith, your gold winner, he will get a class win. That's Matt Wright, who's made a mistake at turn one, and he's dropped it coming over the sausage curbs, and round he goes, hard onto the brakes. Harris has dropped down the order, I'm just noting there, and that'll be Matt Wright dropping down the order.
Yeah, those sausage curbs, I said earlier, they're absolutely lethal. You get up on top of them, unbalances a car, they are brutal, really high. And
sorry, Kelly, just noticing the weather's changed. It's now crystal clear. So all this rain that was promised,
of course it is.
You know, the pros are so well looked after. The weather gods have shone down on them yet again.
You know, one of my favourite sayings is that the sun shines on a dog's arse some days. Well,
the sun shines on
pros every day.
Yeah, it really does. It's
honestly, it's like living in Cornwall. It's sunny every day. Really, you know. Wow. Okay.
Dan Davis having a look at Brandon Williams, pulls back in there. That was Dan, literally just here I am, and then I took back in behind. That was a little strange. Yeah, just. Strange from Dan there, not really seen Dan do that, but he's made Williams aware that his Lamborghini is behind him, and if he'd like to move out the way, that would be much obliged.
Do you think that Williams can't see out the back of the Merc because it's so big?
I don't. Either that or Dan can't see past it. I wanted to make sure that
maybe that. Maybe
that was just making sure that the corner is still there.
Yeah. Checking he's still at Catalonia.
Not gone to the Mad Ring or whatever it's going to be called next year.
The Mad Ring?
That's what the Madrid circuit's going to be called next year, apparently, the Mad Ring.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
original, that.
Well, don't. Here's a tip, kids: don't Google that because you'll get all kinds of things from Mad Ring. So don't do that one. Back up front, the gap did pull out a little bit, but back up front.
Gone on more than there, haven't we? Back up front.
I've been hanging around with you lot for too long, haven't I? Yeah, back up front, lad. They're like fighting for position, lad. Tardoc's dragged it back in again. Zamplini is the fastest man on track at the moment, and he's dragging these two in. So dropped Carlos a little bit. I think Self needs to get past Carlos and get back on these top three if he wants a chance of being on the podium this evening.
I've just dropped down the order. We're watching Stardog, who's on the back of Heo. A good group of cars here, kind of sat all behind that of Hibbs, the Pro-Am champion from last season. Got a good queue of him, Ramsel, Goudet, Harris, then Heo, Stardog, and then that of Skunky down in 24th. Not the night for Skunky around here in the GT3 side, but Hibbs kind of being that trolley train at the moment. Rob Ramsel will want to get past him in his brightly yellowed Quantum Motorsport liveried car. And,
almost golden, you could say, couldn't you?
He's your golden boy, I know that one's for sure. After comments tonight, this evening from Ramsel, but Hibbs at the minute. I'm not going to say he's slow. He's doing the job he needs to do.
Sorry, who's doing the job there to do? Hibbs, yes, absolutely. Good driver, as you say, current Pro-Am champion, and good fair driver is Hibbs. Always liked losing to him.
Sorry, Kelly, I'm just looking at the fuel loads here. There is a good mixture. Of fuel loads out there.
Sorry, mate. Tardok very loose into one. Zamplini all over the back of him. And Tardok not struggling with the tyres already. He seems to be very loose on the rear of that Ferrari.
They kind of go through a little heat phase, Kelly. I'm not going to lie. Right. They go through a bit of a cycle here, do the tyres. So maybe that Ferrari finds it a little earlier than the Aston Martin. It is 41 degrees track temperature since the sun has come out. So it has rose another 2 degrees in the last 10 minutes. So it is a warm one track temp today, 31 degrees ambient. I'm sure the guys would love a bit of cloud and a bit of rain just to cool it down ever so slightly.
To cool the tyres.
Oh, massively so. Yeah, I think a little shower would do them beautifully around here. But yeah, at the minute, Tardok just going through a phase. And you know what? I think Carlos might be in that same area because he's dropped right off the back of Zamplini and Oz is on the back of Self like mad.
So going through that again, Tardok very loose on the rear end as Zamplini has a look round the outside. You're not really going to get it done there, so but maybe just trying to put Tardok off a little bit. He's in very close company. Tardok probably more looking in his mirrors now than looking forward. O'Reilly just pulling away a little bit now, just starting to build a little bit of a gap. Again, Tardok slideways through into the chicane. The back end of that Ferrari is as loose as a loose thing on loose day. And Zamplini's going to make him. He's going to punish him for this in a minute, I think.
Yeah, Zamplini could be punishing him in a moment because that car, just that little snap, that little slide, could open the door for Zamplini to get through at one of these turns. And down into turn one, Zamplini's got that slipstream. Tardok pulls to the inside now to defend. The outside isn't a bad route around turn one. Nearly turns in on Tardok there. Tardok went a little deep, it looked like, though, to be fair, and just missed his braking slightly. Stays ahead, coming into turn three now. And then there's a great gaggle just behind there of Carlos Silf, Osa Clouden and De Bont all on each other. And that could allow Williams and Dan to get on him.
Sorry, Carlos just gone deep. Silf's gone down the inside into the right-hander and has got the job done on Carlos. And Oza just pulled into the back of these guys as well. Closed right up on them. But Zamplini having a look round the outside again. Likes to have a look round the outside. He does. Yeah. He seems to like to be out there. Tardok is keen on defending the inside quite heavily, which I'm not going to complain about that. I like defending the inside quite heavily as well. But
I think it's strange because Catalonia's one of them circuits. Turn one you can get around the outside, set you up for two. Yeah. That's about it. You're not really doing it anywhere else, are you? But this Ferrari, really. I tell you what, Kelly, this Ferrari looks like it's struggling at the moment.
It certainly looks like it's struggling on the tyres as Zamplini again tries to go around the outside, but Tardok gets there first, which he's going to because he's got the racing line. And certainly giving him a hard time. Tardok is fighting for his life here, and those tyres by the sounds of it. Again, that's given O'Reilly like another second and a half gained in the last lap or so on these two. So he's loving this and been able to stretch his legs a little bit and get himself out of trouble as Tardok runs across the sausage curve, but so does Zamplini, as the Ferrari just better on traction as they head out onto the main straight again, and Zamplini in the slipstream now, start to pull Tardok just back in as they come towards the end of the straight. Not close enough this time as they take all the curb as they go into turn 1. Tardok picks up the apex nicely into 1, into 2, a little bit loose over the curbs, and back end complaining. It's a long right-hander. It just seems to go on forever. It just hurry up and wait kind of corner, that one, as you come down and into the braking zone just about where the bridge is. And Tardok, I think you'd be happy to get rid of these tyres if he's not trying to take them to the end, which I would be surprised.
I'd be very surprised if he's taking these tyres to the end. But one thing I am more surprised at is, while these have all been fighting, Williams and Dan haven't been able to get onto the back of this train quite as quick as I thought. There's a good train here, and Tardok is the Q in this train, and he's really struggling out there. Zamplini's into the back of him! He's into the back of him. They're both off onto the gravel trap. Zamplini rejoins. Carlos and Sylph get through, and Tardok spun onto the gravel. And down he goes. He's dropped down. That's behind Dan's. That's put him down into P10.
Yes, indeed. 8 places lost with that spin. Zamplini didn't get away with it. He dropped a couple of places. So that puts Sylph now in second place, and Carlos, who was struggling earlier on, is now seeming to be, he's in the positions, all making great, all great for O'Reilly again, because he's now 4.1 out in front.
But again though, Kelly, if you just look at this for a moment here, look, so Sylph and Carlos now second, third, but Williams and Dan still not really. Dan's decided to call it into the pits very early. I'm surprised at that by Dan. Knowing that there's weather around, I'm surprised he's not waited for a little longer. Dan and Ben are both in. So this is interesting for me.
Yeah. I don't think this weather's going to materialise, to be honest. And is Dan gone with the strategy, and Ben as well? Let's get out of this traffic, get some clean air, so you can get the foot down and get on with it, get into a zone, and crack on a bit. Maybe, I don't know what their thinking is, but that would make some sense, I suppose. I don't think this weather will come, Matt. Even though we have got still got an hour yet, and we can't see that far into the future. I think it's more going to be the worry that the temperature.
Ben's done his pit stop, so Ben in and out. Dan's still in, so this would, to me, because Dan was ahead as De Bont goes up the inside of Jamal Clouden, side by side they go together. De Bont there looks like he's going to get the job done. No, Clouden fights back at him well. That's a spinner in the background. 2 of them off. It looks like Ian McGowan and Rob Smith. Clouden hangs on to that position. Clouden struggling for grip. Big snap onto the back, straight onto the grass he goes. He loses out to Williams.
Yes, and somebody else as well.
It was Williams and De Bont. De Bont he was fighting with, but lose that to Williams.
Right.
Well. I think Dan has possibly changed tyres there. That is a heck of a long stop. Ben's at turn 5. Dan's exiting turn 2. Dan was ahead of Ben before the pit stops. Well, Dan was ahead of Ben before the pit stops. The only thing that Dan would have had to have made his pit stop longer would have been damage. But that seems significant damage to Dan's car, which I haven't seen a yellow flag or anything. So I don't think Ben's changed tyres. I think Dan has. I think Ben is going to be... That's a little optimistic from Ben, I think.
Yep, Zamplini's having a look down the inside of Carlos into turn 1. Looks like he's going to get it done cleanly, is he? Yep, Carlos just tucks in behind and says, "You've got that one, mate, off you go."
Yeah, you have. O'Reilly's opened that gap up to 4.3 seconds. Zamplini can now head after that of Sylph. So 2 early pit runners. Track temp up to 42 degrees. We've been going 15, 17 minutes, and it's gone up 3 degrees since the start of the formation lap. So it is absolutely baking here at Barcelona. And that wet testing people did last night for absolutely
waste
nothing.
Waste of time. complete waste of time. You might as well have just had a little fire with your time, because that's all it was worth. I think it's going to go the other way, Matt. This temperature's going to rise and rise and rise.
Yeah.
Those who've thought to themselves, planned a strategy to go on one set of tyres, may struggle to get to the end with a 42-degree track temperature, and it's rising. I think this will change a lot of people's strategies.
I tell you now, the way to look at this now, Kelly, is let's keep our eyes on Ben Ruck's pace, because that'll be the pace to tell us what's going to happen in this one, I think.
Yep, you're probably right. And we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Of course, we don't have that information. We're only guessing if they change tyres or not. We can't see that information. But as it currently stands, the two Team Audio Sport boys are the only people who've pitted at this point. So they're looking for, they're guaranteed a long stint now of 52 minutes to go. So
I suppose
is there method in their madness?
Well, I suppose the saving grace is if you look at the little track map now, and let's change to Ben. We're currently watching the Goudet Ramsel fight. We'll just go to Ben a second. The car in front of Ben, Ben's the red dot on the track map now, is the 741. That is Stardog, who is coming, who is at the top of your screen there, just underneath the black line. Dan is even further behind Ben. Clear of O'Reilly, but further behind Ben. So Dan's got a clear track. He's not going to overheat his tyres in the traffic. He's not going to use them, overuse the performance in the dirty air.
Yeah.
He's going to be in a good position.
He's going to think that everyone else has gone home, because there's no one around him at all.
I think if Dan's pitted changed tyres now, I understand that. Maybe it's a little early, but I understand that. I don't get it from Ben.
Getting his head, no, not if he hasn't changed tyres, but maybe he felt that he was in jeopardy in the pack. I mean, I've certainly done it, where I felt like there's going to be an accident here in a minute. Let's get in the pits and get myself out of this situation before it becomes one. Who knows? Excuse me. I mean, Dan has now got himself into endurance mode, hasn't he? Get your head down, just concentrate on laps, and consistent laps. Don't overheat the tyres too much, but just keeps consistency. Yeah. And as I said, he's sitting on the track on his own. He'll probably think that everyone else has left him.
Well, at the minute, the closest fight on circuit is Silf to Zampellini. Looking down the order, it is then Claes, Hayhoe, and Hoffer as well. That Goudet Ramsel battle's just opened up, so Ramsel's managed to pull away a little bit from Goudet, but the closest fight is this one for second and third, and what they are doing is they are starting to bring that gap down to O'Reilly. It's under 4 seconds now, but O'Reilly's been in a position now where Zampellini was attacking the rear of Tardock and they fell off the back of O'Reilly. That just allowed O'Reilly to maybe look after them tyres a little bit more in the Honda.
Yeah, Sil's looking a little bit more glued to the track than Tardock did. I'm riding on board with Zampellini, and he's looking for his second MSA scalp of the evening. But Silth is looking a little bit of a twitch there, but he's looking a little bit more planted on those tyres than Tardock was a little bit earlier. So we'll see. Zampellini's certainly giving him a hard time, and as you say, they're bringing the gap down to O'Reilly very, very slowly. O'Reilly's still got a nice little breathing space of 3.6 seconds, and survived the first 20 minutes of the race. So
I suppose I suppose the feeling is as well is that gap's coming down at the moment. Zampellini's not putting Silf under defensive pressure yet like he was Tardock, was he? Tardock started to defend, and that's where O'Reilly's gap really raised the bar. Out front, they've took another 10th out through sector 2, 10th in sector 1, so just 2 tenths this lap. But at the moment, Zampellini just happy to sit behind Silf, not putting him under defensive pressure as of yet. So O'Reilly is losing that gap to second and third place. Carlos can't do anything about this, by the way, as Zampellini very close there into the rear.
Phantom brake pedal there again. My foot just pushed through the floorboards. Sorry, Haley downstairs. I think I just put a hole in the floorboards. I was braking that hard, and as he got dangerously close to Silth again.
Tell you one thing Silf gets is a great exit out the final corner. He really opens the gap back up to Zampellini, and then coming the rest of the lap, Zampellini sort of gets onto the back of him without, at the moment, having too much of a look or a niggle.
Yes, and again, the Ferrari seems to be good in the traction zones, doesn't it? We know the Aston Martin is I'm surprised it isn't a more popular car, although because it is a good all-rounder, is the Aston Martin, and driven correctly is plenty quick enough. Samplini has proved with some cracking laps as he has it go down the inside. Silth sees him coming, doesn't fight that overly hard, but he cuts to the inside and has the cut back, puts Samplini back on the outside. Now the handbags are out. Silth saw that coming, reacted to it, took the opposite line, and has got the job done. No, not yet, because Samplini is now on the inside for the next corner. Silth has to get out of it, runs round the outside, and looks like Samplini is through. Flash of the lights from Silth. That was harsh racing, but and the Silth has knocked him round. He's pushed him round. Goes into the back of Samplini, and he goes off track. And where's Samplini? He drops. He hasn't dropped far, actually. He's recovered quite well.
He's still third. You get the feeling that Zampolini ran Silth out of road coming down the back straight, and then it looks like Silth there just a little late on the brakes and tapped Zampolini around. It seemed red misty from it, and that's not what we want to see here at Simplay Motorsport. But I'm sure that'll be looked at by the stewards come the end of the race this evening. What a shame for the drivers out there, because it was turning into a good little battle. But what that has done for O'Reilly, look, 5.3 seconds. These two have been messing around. It's back up to 5.3 seconds. O'Reilly doing the
Power
job.
Dreams.
Yeah, doing the job he needs to do. Ian McGowan at the minute down in a gold battle between Rob Smith and Sny. Van Zil's dropped down to 13th place. Still only Dan, Ben Rook and Matt Wright have now decided to all take a pit stop. Matt Wright has lost out to Dan Davis. Now, I say he's lost out. He's behind Dan. I don't think Matt has taken tyres, because Matt was not that close to Dan before Dan pitted. So
brave, just brave going on tyre, especially where the temperature is. We're stuck at kind of 42 degrees track temperature, 32 ambient, and it's brave to do on time. I'd be certainly worried about using the same set of tyres. Samplini, going back to this battle, is starting to drag himself back up to Silth. He didn't lose a lot of time in that incident at all, actually. He managed to recover very quickly, and is now, I think round 2 is going to be coming up very, very shortly between these two.
You want to keep your eyes? I was going to say you want to keep your eyes on Oza in the background.
And Oza and Carlos are dragging themselves back up to this battle with they're not a million miles away from this at all. They're certainly in view of this, and be in a good position to attack if there's more handbags between Samplini and Silth.
Cracking little fight down the order, Kelly. P22 and 21, Tobias Hoffer and Clace at the moment. Coming through onto the back straight. The McLaren gaining on the back of the Mercedes. Mercedes not looked overly strong here today. We've seen Hoffer and Sion Williams look good on certain circuits, but Catalunya hasn't been one of them for the Mercedes-Benz, it looks like.
No, you're quite right. And different cars, different characteristics. And you can't have it your way all the time. And I've said it before. I'm not a huge fan of the Mercedes. Doesn't mean it's a bad car. I can't get on with it. And I don't think there's a lot of people who can. So I've said it before. Hats off to Williams. He makes a cracking job of handling that Mercedes. But as you say, tonight doesn't seem to be the quick car around here.
Okay, Rob Ramsell is now into the pit lane, the only other driver to come into the pits. Now,
sorry, Matt. Samplini's up the inside. Silth had a little bit of a wiggle. That's put Samplini on the outside, and he's gone deep into the corner. I was going to say that Silth has let him go, but he made a mistake all by himself. He's gone deep into the corner. He's now on the outside in the same section that they were in before, and having fun and games. But they're very close to each other again. As Carlos goes round behind him, Carlos drops it all by himself, because I was using him to watch the other guys, and Silth is Zamplini's now in front of Silth.
Yeah, Zamplini's now in front of Silth. Carlos went round in the background. Silth going to have a look down into the hairpin, doesn't get close enough and isn't close enough to that rear of Zamplini, but Rob Ramsell in, so 4 cars have pitted. Rob Ramsell has jumped Dan. So again, I think another driver that hasn't changed tyres. Now I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page here. Ben Rook last time round a 46.2, Dan a 45.7, Matt Wright a 47.8. So that would indicate that the tyres already, with Dan's being fresher rubber, are the better way to go. The question now up front is, can Silth stick with the back of Zampolini? Zampolini over 5 seconds off the back of Kieran O'Reilly now. What will it take for him to close down the gap? We've got Clouden, who is close to Tordock. Not anymore. Tordock is into the pit lane. Snide on the rear then of Carlos after Carlos's spin. But I'm interested here. Ben Rook, Rob Ramsell and Matt Wright all didn't take tyres. Dan Davis clearly has. He's got into this fight. He lost out to Ben. He's now behind Rob. He jumped Matt. Definite no tyres for Dan Davis in this race. It's going to be an interesting conversation afterwards to see where, you know, what Matt and Rob and Ben's thought process was, because looking at these lap times already, Kelly, you know, Ben 46.2 again, Dan Davis 45.7. I don't think they're great. You know, Matt Wright 47.8. They're not great lap times from drivers with old rubber. Tordock in and out. We've got Cordno in as well as Tobias Hoffer. Tordock's just come out the pack. Where is he? That is Ben Rook. So Tordock got spun around, so it's hard to say, but I don't think Tordock took tyres, because Ben wasn't a million miles away from him. He was on the back of that train that Tordock was creating earlier on, but Tordock getting spun around probably puts him into Ben. So yeah, I don't think Tordock's also taken tyres. Bold, risky move. Track temps just dropped down to 41 degrees though.
Yeah, it's dropped a degree since we've been talking about it last. And it looks like Silth is just getting dropped slightly now by Samplini. Obviously, all got their pit stops to do yet, but Kieran O'Reilly is leading this race. We haven't spoken much about him out front in that Honda and making it work. The only man on the grid who can make the Honda work, or chooses the Honda. And I'm sure it's not from years and years of my abuse on Simplay that it's not a popular choice. But Kieran O'Reilly making it work out front, 4 seconds ahead now, and but still a long way to go in this race. We're not quite half distance yet, so he's still got a lot of laps to do in this car, and Samplini is catching him very, very slowly. But we'll see how that pans out. Still the pit stops to go for all of these guys. Everyone down to 22nd is still yet to pit. Ben Rook, as the highest guy who's done his pit stop, we suspect he might be on used tyres. We'll see how that pans out towards the end of the race. I really am interested to see. This 70-minute race throws up tyre issues and fuel issues, but I don't think we've really seen the tyres drop off a cliff like we were expecting them to. I think more people have gone the distance than we thought would do.
Yes,
is that fair to say, Matt?
I think Kota. Zandvoort was the one that surprised me. I think Kota would have been the one where we see tyres really drop off. I was in a chat with Monkey Boy, Andrew Taylor and Kieran Argent last week. I really saw tyres drop off, and that them two looked strong at the end of the race.
Did they take tyres?
They taken tyres. They was 2 to 3 seconds a lap quicker than others. Because of incidences in the race, it didn't pan out for them. Kota, we know how hot Kota can be. We didn't get to see that with the pros. I think here, though, 41 degrees. And I tell you what, Hungaroring could also be a tyre change circuit. It
could be a warm one, yeah, it could be a warm one, as Europe is all very hot at the moment, so that could be interesting. One I've got to think about, because it's one I've chose to race this year, something to think about this week. And all those tested will be thinking, how hot are this going to be? Are we going to be able to do the full 70 minutes on one set of tyres? But that's next week. This week is still going on, and as I get a text message and got distracted. How professional of me. Thank you for that, Matt. I don't know what it's all about, but I'll look at that in a minute.
Evening to Wolski and Bestie, in the chat as well. We're currently watching Lino and Clace down in 19th and 20th. Not many battles happening up front. Jamal Clouden getting within a second, or now just dropping out of that second. Zamplini 3.8 to O'Reilly at the moment. Down the order though, what is it? Tordock's half a second off the back of Ben here. So Ben's got ahead of Tordock. Where is Dan Davis on the track? He's coming into that final couple of corners. Into the chicane Dan comes now. They're heading down into turn one. Just look at the lap times last time around from these two as we do enter the 17th lap of this race. Cardno and Hoffer have both pitted. Wright a 46.6, Ramsell a 47.7, Ben a 46.5, Dan was a 45.4.
Where's Sambini got? Has he pitted? Where's he gone?
Oh no, we're down to 27 drivers. We've lost 2 drivers.
Samplini. We lost Samplini.
So we've lost Zampellini. Who was one of the other drivers? Claes was disconnected earlier. Stordog was disconnected earlier. Yeah, I can only see one forward. I think Zampellini and Stordog's been disconnected.
Been disconnected, yep.
So they can get back in to score points, but what that has done is that gap that was under 3 seconds to O'Reilly is...
Do you remember? Do you remember me saying about the term "sun shines on the dog's arse" some days? Well, it's a sunny day in the Honda camp for Kieran O'Reilly. Not only has he had battling going on behind him, he's given him a nice hassle-free run. And now the man who was catching him has been disconnected, so that he's let off the hook again. So it's all rosy in the O'Reilly camp right at the moment as he continues on his way with a 5-second gap now over Silth. So
it went to 5 seconds to Tarlock, then it come under, and then it went to 5 seconds after Silth and Zampellini had the dramas, and then it come under to about 3 seconds, and Zampellini gets disconnected. It's back over 5.5, so 5 seconds. So Zampellini, I've just seen come back in. I think he's gone again. It won't let me press on his name. Yeah, he's not in the pit lane. So Zampellini did get back in. You can get back in, finish this race. Obviously, it won't go down as a retirement in the qualifying ban. It was a disconnection. But what this will be is no points for you in this race. And Zampellini did have the fastest lap of the race. So, I don't know if we give it to the second fastest lap or to Zampellini, seeing as it was technically a disconnection.
Well, that's above my pay grade, so I'll let somebody else work that out. 35 minutes to go. We are half distance just about as we come up to 18 laps in, and Kieran O'Reilly is your leader with 5 seconds. As I said, he's had a hassle-free run so far, and just needs to keep his head down and doing a cracking job out front at the moment. But the podium positions have changed like clockwork over and over again. Silth now is your second place man, and Oza has made his way up into the podium position, probably just by keeping his nose clean.
We're currently watching the Brandon Williams and Jamal Clouden fight. That's a couple of tenths of a second. Stordog has got in himself back into the lobby. Tardog's still on the rear of Ben now. It was 19 seconds, Dan, off the back of these two. Kelly?
It's all right. You called me Dan.
Yeah, Dan was 19 seconds off the back of these two.
Sorry, beg your pardon. My bad. Come on. It's the way you said it. You just said it so, said it so casually.
Oh, sorry, he's had a moment. He's managed to keep it out of the wall, but he's had a big snap. Well, we're at half race distance. Yes, the track temp's down to 40 degrees. The cloud cover has come over, so it has cooled it down. But has the damage been done to the tyres? Dan Davis is on 10-minute fresher tyres. I still think it's a strange one from Dan. 10 minutes doesn't seem a lot, but they're fresher, and that's the bonus for Dan Davis at the moment. Last laps in this race, again, made for very interesting reading. If you're Dan Davis, you was quicker than Tarlock, you was quicker than Ben. Still in the 1 minute 45. Jamal Clouden just made a heck of a move on Brandon Williams, so he's got through. McGowan's in the pits. I think the strategy was to change tyres. Cloud covers came over, Kelly. Maybe that's what the drop in temperature has been all about. It's only dropped 2 degrees. Williams looking to the outside of the hairpin. Not going to do it there on Jamal Clouden. Jamal Clouden now halfway through the race. He moves up into P5 to Bont on the back of Oza. Are we going to see any more Cloud roll in?
Yes, indeed. Clouden having a great night this evening, having a great race one, although he probably feels a little bit disappointed, feeling probably a little bit miffed that he just lost out at the end, but still a good result in second place in the sprint race, and now dragged himself up into 5th place. All these guys, top 19, still haven't pitted yet, so a lot of them going for a later strategy.
Yeah, a lot of them going for a different strategy. It's going to be an interesting one to see what they can do as well in this race. Currently watching Oza and Bont. Rob Smith now into the pit lane, so that releases Van Zyl and Mike Matthews, John Gooday. A lot of drivers quietly going about their race. Halfway stage, this will tell us, I reckon, who's changing tyres. I think if you're not changing and you're running a long stint, or if you are changing, you're pitting between now and the next 10 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, certainly the people on the 50-50 strategy or just above 60-40 strategy will certainly have to get on with it anytime soon. De Bont now bringing in Oza a little bit. He's getting close onto the back of him. We haven't got the absolutely critical fights right at the moment. It's probably closest battle on track right now, as De Bont, as I said, is starting to bring Oza in just a little bit. With 33 minutes to go. In the chat's been very quiet this evening. Ian Best in there. Good evening, Bestie. I hope you're well. Look forward to racing you next week.
Not there.
Look forward to... Oh, is he not?
He's on a training course for this week and next week.
Oh, I was so looking forward to seeing him in my rearview mirror next week, but never mind, maybe at Donny. But good evening, Bestie. I hope you're well. Anybody else in the chat, if you haven't said hello, come along, say hello. We come in, make yourself at home, take your shoes off, be comfortable, say hello to us. We won't bite. Well, Matt might, but I won't. So let's hear you. Let's see those comments in the chat.
So, Kelly, just looking at this pit stops as well, I think McGowan has taken tyres. He's dropped a long way behind Matt Wright. He's nearly got O'Reilly lapping him. So I think McGowan has taken tyres like Dan Davis. We've also now got Snye and Clouden into the pit lane. So we'll keep an eye on their pace. We're on to lap 21 at the moment. And looking at lap 20 again, Dan taking near enough a second out of Tardot and Benjamin Rook. He is a lot quicker at the moment. The gap's down to 16.8 seconds. And them two are going to be starting to have another scrap in a moment. We're watching that De Bont Oza battle. Let's go down to not John Gooday. It's John Gooday. He's gone 600ths off the back of Snye. That's because of Snye pitting and crossing the timing line when they did. Lino's on the back of Clyde. And we've got Tardot on the back of Ben. I think Clouden's taking tyres as well. I think that's a tyre change.
Yeah, definitely. He was well into the 30 seconds with his tyres, so he's definitely taking tyres. Is that what I
could hear you counting numbers for?
Could you hear me doing that?
I could kind of hear you. It's just a little whisper.
That was me thinking I was doing it in my head. There you go.
Ted Kravitz in the F1 pit lane probably has a stopwatch for all of this. Kelly sits there and counts it on his fingers.
I just count it, I just count on my fingers. Yeah.
Fingers and toes.
Yeah, well, as many toes as I've got.
So that's why you can get to 30.
Absolutely. Well, at least it's better than one. They're not webbed.
Evening to Presmac in the chat as well. That is Wolski from the Pro-Am series. Good evening to you in the chat. Snye's out the pits ahead there then of Matt Wright. Tip saying that Gowney tyres plus 12-second repair for Tip. So huge repair for Michael Harris in that one. Jamal Clouden, was ahead of Dan before the pit stop, 5 seconds behind him. Dan's early pit stop with tyres has clearly paid off here.
But can he go the distance? Because he's pitted very, very early. He's still got to take these tyres a long, long way. Well, it looks like more cloud coming over.
It was still 55 minutes left in the race, wasn't it, for Dan?
Yep.
So, yes, it's 10, 11 minutes less time than the others, but it is still a long way to go in this race. Jamal's going to have fresh rubber with half an hour left to go. This will be a belting battle. Jamal could get the opposite back on Dan. Now, I hear a very slow car, and that is why John Gooday on the pit entry has span.
Oh dear. That's
John Gooday is backwards on pit entry. He's having to reverse into the pit lane because he can't get it spun around. He's been disqualified.
Of course he has. He just backed up the pit lane.
Do you know the last time we saw a car reversing down the pit lane? Long Beach, Dean Wasaki. Yeah. That was back when the AI was left on. You remember you coming to the pit, sometimes the AI had tech control? Dean Wasaki's car got reversed round.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of Fury at one
Zolder.
of the American tracks.
Yes. No, I know which one you mean. No, I don't think it was Indy because he had 3 wheels there and he struggled to get that one back. But I know the one you mean. Well, John Gooday, we've lost Sam Polini. He's not back in. John Gooday's been disqualified for reversing. John was either to block pit entry by doing a 25-point turn or what, but
it would have been a difficult one, admittedly.
There was not a lot of room to swing that big Aston Martin around. No, I'm telling you now, if I know John,
not designed for that.
If I know John, he will be seething. The best thing about that is Zampolini in the wet did exactly the same thing last night in testing.
Okay, well, there you go. John has done it for the whole world to see, and we've commented on it as well. So,
I could hear. I was watching. I can't remember. I was watching. I could hear a car revving like mad.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I saw the number 8 stationary, and I was like, "What's happened to John?" Flicked on him. He's in the pit lane.
hats off to John. A bit of quick thinking to stop a major accident. Do you know what I mean? If somebody come in behind him, there would have been very difficult to slow that down, and there would have been a horrific accident. And quick thinking for John to slap it into reverse. Do you think he put his hand on the seat and looked out the back window?
The worst thing was. The worst thing was, Kelly, is he just crossed into the pit, so he could have flicked it around because the wall had ended, so he could have flicked it around to spin it around, and the game's disqualified him. That's a shame for John. Tardock on the back of Ben Rook here, though, in this race. I suppose if you don't laugh, you'd cry, and that's one of them situations where you don't see it often. You kind of just got to have a giggle and move on with it. I'm sure John will be back next week to fight another day. To say
I've just got it in my head now. It might be a Target reference, this one, but the old cop show called The Professionals. I just had that in my head. A fast reversing car with a man got his hand on the seat and looking over his shoulder, slapping it into reverse. So for those of you who've never heard of The Professionals, you want to Google that one. It was a great show from the 70s. Not that I remember, I'm too young.
Way too young. Dan Davies now 15 seconds off the back of Tarlock. Clouden still within 5 seconds of Dan. The question with Clouden to Dan is, if it's not going to be done on outright pace, it'll be done at the end of this race, you'd assume, because it's going to be interesting to see those who haven't changed tyres, and then Dan Davies, who changed 10 minutes into the race, and then those who've changed tyres around the midway mark. I think people, if they don't pit within the next lap or two, they're committing to a one-stop strategy of a splash and dash.
Going long and holding the tyres, keeping the tyres.
Tips in the chat saying that at least John can be safe in the fact that none of us will ever mention it to him. And that's one thing we do here at Simplay Motorsport. We don't reminisce.
Are you sure?
We don't reminisce. But in a few years to come, when we come there and somebody else gets disqualified for reversing down the pit lane, and me and Kelly sit there and go, do you remember when John Gooday did it?
I think it will come back to return over and over and over again, like everything does. So there you go, John. You've just joined the Hall of Fame of stories that we tell on the commentary.
I think if John's listening, jump in for a quick chat, John, because I'd like to know how you've lost it.
And I want to know how fast it goes in reverse.
Because how has he lost it? Got it spun the wrong way without hitting anything.
Is there any? I can't even think for a minute. Is there a curb?
No, I don't think there's a curb. No, I don't think there is. Now this is interesting. Ben Rook is on the back of William Cairns, I believe it is. Yet to pit. Skunky's come out the pits. That is now behind Dan Davies. Jamal Clouden's got the gap under 5 seconds to Dan. So already maybe the tyre advantage. It could just be outright pace as well, because it's only a couple of tenths at the moment. In fact, no, it was actually about 5.5, wasn't it? It's now 4.7, so that's a good chunk of time Jamal's taken out of Dan. So interesting. Hibbs is on the back of Ramsell, who's ahead of Skunky, who's got McGowan behind. McGowan's taken tyres, we know. Tips told us in the chat as well. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Matt, sorry. Tardock up the inside of Ben. Ben outbraked himself and tried not to crash into the back of Carnes. I don't know if he just outbraked himself. I'm on board with Tardock. Tardock had an opportunity, but Ben covered it off and lives to fight another day. But Carnes is Tardock has a look down the inside on the chicane. He backed out of that rather quick, which was probably the best thing to do, to be fair. But Carnes is just holding Ben up now. Ben being the top of the pit of the pit battle. I don't think he'll stay there, but he's leading that group at the moment. And Carnes is the last man who hasn't pitted, if you know what I mean. Last on the road that hasn't pitted.
I think Dan. Strategy hasn't worked. In fact, no, he's actually just taken a second out of Ben and Tardock in the final set. That could have been to do with the shenanigans of Ben running a little deep. But Dan had stayed around the 15-second mark. Clouden's now down to 3.8. So in a lap, Clouden's took nearly a second and a half. That's the tyre advantage, I feel. Clouden's pace and the tyre advantage. I think Dan has gone for a decent strategy but went too early.
Do you think it was a kind of do or die? I'm going to be stuck here in the middle pack here if I don't do something and don't try something.
I don't know, because he was on the back of Williams, but it wasn't like he was on the back of the big train behind Tardock, Just looking here, Ben 47, Tardock 47, Dan 45.8, so good time. Clouden 44.8.
Do you think he was inspired by one of his heroes and with what Hulkenberg did at the weekend? Who put himself in a podium position from good strategy, of course, and good driving as well.
You could arguably say that Dan's race 1 nowadays was like the Nico Hulkenberg situation. He's not had a win in so long that it was like, oh, finally. But I don't know. Dan pulled
I'm just seeing John reverse down the pit lane on the stream, which seems to be, my stream seems to be very long behind. Maybe I started it later or whatever. But to be fair, John, nice straight line, went back absolutely in a straight line. Beautiful bit of reversing.
Fastest driving tester in that one.
I
don't know. I think Dan pulled the trigger too early on the strategy.
Yeah,
really
maybe.
do.
Yeah, and it's very easy for us to sit in the comm box and say should have done this and should have done that. Dan is one for trying something different from time to time. Sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. But we'll see. Race isn't over.
Well, I think it was the strategy. I just think it was too early. Jamal's down to 2.7. We've just seen Rob Smith get past Adam Matt Wright. We've now got Skunky on the outside of Rob Ramsell. And if these guys have taken tyres, we know that we believe that Rob Ramsell hasn't. He had a quick pit stop. If Hibbs and Skunky and McGowan have taken tyres, Skunky right around the outside. Hibbs could go around the outside, and Ramsell late on the brakes. Managers, Hibbs turns him round. Hibbs spins him round, and O'Reilly, I tell you what, O'Reilly's nearly been caught up in that. He's the leader. He's bailed to the pit lane. He has bailed to the pit lane. He doesn't want to part of that. Yeah. Now let Sylph deal with that one.
Yeah, that's probably smart. That is, get out of that traffic and all that shenanigans. Clouden has taken a huge chunk out of Dan now, 1.6. Yeah. Although Dan is catching Tardok and Rook.
Don't you feel that Dan's gap coming down to Tardok and Rook though is slowing?
It's not moving. It's still coming down, but not at the rate that Clouden is catching him.
Yeah.
We're going to have a battle there in a minute. Clouden will be looking for some payback there, I feel.
This is riding on board with Clouden there. You can see Dan Davis coming down the back straight at the moment. Jamal Clouden in the Cloud9 car. Down in towards the hairpin now. Gap coming through the second sector. He's taken 6 tenths out of him there, Kelly. So I think this is a case of Dan's tyres have been taken too early.
Yes, indeed. You might well be right, and we'll see when Clouden gets there. Catching is one thing, passing is another, as the great Murray Walker used to say. So we'll see how Clouden gets on with that when he gets there. But if Dan's tyres are destroyed, then he's got.
I don't think they're destroyed. I think they're going to be in a better shape. But Dan Davies last lap 46.5, matching the pace now of Ben and Tardok in the 46s, while Clouden sat in the 44s. Gap 6 tenths of a second. Dan to Tardok stayed 13.6. So it's no longer coming down massively between them lot. Kieran O'Reilly in the pits. He come out ahead of Heyo, it looks like, on the timing screen. And Jamal Clouden here, he's just going to drive past Dan, I think, out of a corner exit. We'll stay on board this. One of the closest fights at the moment. This was the battle for the race lead going into the last lap of race 1. Dan pipped Clouden on the inside of turn 1. I get the feeling here that the minute Jamal gets close enough, he's going to get traction out of a corner and just sail on by.
Yeah, let's hope Clouden is smart about it. He's obviously got pace. He can do this cleanly, and let's hope that he does exactly that. He's pulled right up to the back of him, and he's just got so much more grip and so much more pace at the moment. As he's staring at the back of that Lamborghini, he's probably going to do it at the end of the back straight. Come up through these S's, goes a little bit deep there. This is a little lift as you come up to the top here. Touch of the brakes from Dan. That unsettled Clouden a little bit, I reckon. Yeah. He wasn't expecting the brakes to come on just then. Clouden looks down the outside, but he's too far back this time. That little touch on the brakes, I think, just spoiled Clouden's run along the back straight. Dan goes a little bit wide as they come out of these the left-hander and through this S section. No real names to these corners on this track. There is a couple, but they're not every corner is named. So as they come into the final chicane once again, very slow speed as you thread the eye of the needle. Clouden very, very close, needs to stay in the traction as long as possible. Dan runs the curb, Clouden doesn't. The Lamborghini does that yo-yo effect and pulls away just for a moment, but as Clouden got the outright speed in that McLaren to get there before he gets to turn 1. Doesn't look like it. I think the Lamborghini is quicker in a straight line than the McLaren anyway. And hard on the brakes from Clouden. What I do know is the McLaren's brakes aren't as good either. But gets it slowed down. Another touch of the brakes halfway through the corner for Dan. Doesn't look overly comfortable in that Lamborghini. Seems to be touching the brakes quite a lot, to be honest.
This is going to be hurting Jamal as well, Kelly, because the use of his tyres every part of the track he sat behind Dan, every single usage of the tyres is just going to kill them that little bit more. But he's got to find that gap. He's got to find that bit of time. This is gave down the hurry up though. Gap's now under 13 seconds to Tardok.
I was just going to say it's still coming down to Tardok, but I do wonder if that's Carnes just still holding the pair of them up. Ben can't find a way through, and Carnes hasn't pitted yet.
And they're going to be on the same lap's worth of tyres as well.
They are, yes. Carnes being a goal driver as well, doing a cracking job where he is, an absolute every right. And as Clouden has a look down the inside, Dan doesn't make it different for him, but is Clouden going to get it slowed down? Yes, he does. Gets it down the inside, gets the job done. Don't think Dan put up too much of a fight for that one. I think he knew what was coming, and could avoid any kind of argy-bargy when he would get caught at some point. So
I think let's Kelly that Clouden's now just going to sail off into the distance. Clouden's going to be 12.6 behind them. You already see the gap that Clouden's pulled off over Dan Davis through this last sector. That purely is a bit of Clouden's pace, but also the tyre advantage that Clouden has over Dan Davis. Look, the gap 0.6 of a second. He passed him at the final sector, so that is done. Clouden can sail off after Tardok now. That's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to say it now. I think Dan took tyres too early, Kelly.
I probably tend to agree, to be honest. It's looking like it. He had no defence over Clouden, and these two went for it last race. I wouldn't have thought either of them would change anything on the setup. So
Tardok and Ben, sorry, Kelly, has got past Cairns now, so they have cleared him by over 4 seconds. Jamal is now 5 seconds off the back of Cairns. So already,
a moment for Cairns, I think.
Well, hang on a moment. Let's just have a look out. So that's 5.6. So Cairns 4.7 minutes. Let's say 5. Jamal's only 11 seconds. He's already taken a second out of Tardok from when he was behind Dan at 12.6. So Jamal absolutely flying right now. O'Reilly is your net race leader. We've still got to see everybody come into the pits. Everybody is one stop in. The 11 has had a moment. That is Mike Matthews coming through what could possibly be that right-hander down in towards the chicane. He's now going to pit. So was that a moment with tyres getting warm? Track temp still 39. The rain has stayed away and looks like it is going to stay away. O'Reilly gets past that of Starlog to put a lap on him. Zampolini never came back in, so we lost him from the race. That was a disconnection. Him and Stardog went at the same time, so that was a disconnection, not a retirement. So that will not be quali bans for him. And John, disappointing because he was second place with the fastest lap. John Gooday disqualified. Again, no bans will be given to John Gooday, just no points scored for that disqualification, reversing down the pit lane. Skillfully reversing down the pit lane, but disqualified.
Absolutely, straight as a
nonetheless.
Yep, straight as a die, and got to be one of the incidents of the season so far, and will go down in Simplay history, that one, I feel. Anyway, McGowan.
There's no comments in the Discord yet. I'm really surprised we've not had a comment in the Discord about John. Either from John or about John. I can't wait to speak to John. I'm going to drop him a message and find out what actually happened there, because that may be a head in hands moment for Mr. Goudet there. He's still in the lobby. He'll be helping the team out, no doubt. The Greasy Bandits stable. I'm sure he'll be giving them updates on track positions and everything.
Do you know what, Matt? As McGowan's having a look at Hibbs into turn 1, Hibbs doesn't fight him too hard, leaves the gap open and lets him go, I think. And I tell you what, Matt, it's, with a grid this big and the way that ACC isn't overly great for the broadcast side of things, it would have been very easy for that incident to go completely unnoticed. But unfortunately, it didn't.
I get exactly what you're saying. Unfortunately, it didn't. We've got Ben Rook now gaining on the back of Clace. Clace is yet to pit in this race, and this is going to be an interesting one to say the least, to see what is going to happen here. Then at the moment we've got Clace down in P9. Ben's running 10th, obviously. Technically he's third of the pit runners at the moment. Ben was behind
Clace has gone deep.
He has gone deep. That's probably going to be the benefit for Rook and Tardock. Clace, I'm surprised, just didn't go into the pits there, but stays out on track. Clouden as well, by the way, 1.9 clear of Dan. He's already on the back of Cairns already.
Flying.
Who was Ben behind? Ben was behind Carlos, De Bon, Oza and Sylph and O'Reilly. He was ahead of Van Zyl though, so we're expecting Ben to possibly be P6 because of O'Reilly behind Van Zyl. So I think P6, maybe even, because he's got ahead of Tardock, hasn't he, after the pit lane, after Tardock spin.
Yeah, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people who still haven't pitted yet. And some of the quick guys as well up front, the top 5, all quick drivers who have chose to go almost, they're going full distance, so you would say they're going to do it on one set of tyres.
Clouden has made light work of Cairns. They're out of turn 3, up the inside into turn 4. Thank you, Mama, for the carrots. He is on a mission at the moment. He's 5.9 to Clace now. This is game on for Clouden. This could be top 5 here easily, maybe even a podium place.
Got to be. And if he's really lucky, he could be a contender for driver of the day at this rate, because he's driving a cracking Catalonia.
That's a heck of a shout.
Well, it's better than a race win, don't you?
I've been told by many people.
Mainly me, you mean?
Yes, only you, really.
yeah, pretty much just me.
But you are a man of many wise words, so.
Yeah, some people call it bull, but wise words I'll take.
What we've got to think about, ladies and gentlemen, is given the job I do as a commentator and a broadcaster, Kelly has given me many a wise tips, mainly at a drunken night at Donington Park, but they've been wise nonetheless.
Absolutely, and that comes from a long career in the entertainment industry and drinking a lot. So that's where those wise words come.
To put down who's the 4th driver. I've got 3 drivers for the driver of the day. Any recommendation? I've got Clouden, Davis, and O'Reilly.
O'Reilly. That's
Carlos.
a good. Yeah, Carlos has been there and thereabouts all the way, hasn't he?
I'd say Carlos or Sylph. I'm going to be Sylph.
You may be worth seeing how the last 10. Well, you could do in the poll now, I suppose, are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going Sylph. I'm going Dan for his win, and he's having a decent race too. Carlos yet to pits. We see where he comes out. O'Reilly more for his race 2 performance. Clouden in overall and Sylph overall. So I'm going to go with that. If you disagree with them 4 in the chat, drop a comment who you think it should be. Susie Cream Cheese, John YouTube Shorts Goudet. Not saying anything, Susie, but I may save the replay to make a YouTube short video out of that for the Simplay channel. May have to be done. Apologies to John.
Might be just an instructional video on how to reverse.
Well, we've got 2 YouTube shorts on there that are quite comical. One is Dan Davis, flash the lights coming through Luffield, span on the corner exit, lost his podium to Jamal Clouden.
Yeah.
We've then got Gary Leach entering the pit lane at Zolder. At Zolder, you brake, you've got that left and right hand corner before coming out pit lane. Gary missed his braking zone, hit the wall straight on. John could be the 3rd instalment of the comical YouTube short clips.
Yeah. Don't go back as far as me at Long Beach, will you?
Oh, God, if we made YouTube shorts back then, that would have made the highlight reel for sure. Carlos and Heo into the pits. Carlos has exited pit lane. O'Reilly is at turn 3. Williams has jumped Carlos in the pit, so that is interesting. Good stop for Williams then. Puts him ahead of Carlos. Ben Rook still got Tardock for company. Clouden is now 2 seconds off the back of Kleiss. Gets now past Heo, which will put Clouden up into P11. And Dan up into P13, dropping down the order. Skunky has cleared Matt Wright. Matt Wright's now got McGowan. See, Matt Wright was running 3rd in class a little earlier. No, we had a spin. It was Mike who was running 3rd in class. Where's Mike Matthews? 4th in class, technically. But, the tyre change I don't think has worked for people here.
Just excuse me 1 sec, Matt. I'll be back in just a second.
Absolutely fine. So while Kelly relieves himself at the moment, it is Sylph from Oza, from De Bont, from Van Zyl. The top 4 yet to pit, though, as is Clace and Heo down in. In fact, Heo's just been in the pit, so he's not even done his pit stop there, so he's going to have to come back in again. O'Reilly is your net race leader from Williams. Heck of a gap that is. Carlos, P7. Oza's in now. Ben Rook has got Tardock. They was Ben Rook and Dan Davis was the first 2 in. Ben didn't take tyres, Dan did after 10 minutes of racing. Then it's Kleiss with Jamal Clouden, now 1.6 behind him. Clouden on a charge at the moment. Going to drop down the order here because Ian McGowan is on the back of Matt Wright. This is for position. This is McGowan 19th, on the back of Matt Wright 18th. McGowan, we know, changed tyres. Tips told us in the chat. Matt Wright, we know, didn't, because he was all of a sudden really close to Dan. And this is just going to be McGowan sailing past Matt Wright.
I'm back. I wasn't going to relieve myself. I ordered a drink. Not that I've got a bar in my house. I just asked Hayley to kindly pass me a drink because I've got a tickly little cough, which from all this excitement that we're having again each week.
Here goes McGowan on the inside of Matt Wright into the braking zone of the hairpin. Matt Wright does not fight it too hard. He's going to try and hang it around the outside. McGowan has grip, pulls out the corner. Thank you, Mama, for the carrots. That's all she wrote. Job done. Rob Smith is now defending from Skunky. So the Team GBR boys making a bit of a not a comeback, but a bit of a statement at the end of this race by coming through the pack at the moment. Jamal Clouden as well on the back of Clace. In fact, no, he's ahead of Clace.
Who's got in front of him now then? So that's next one up the road is Tardock, is it?
Yeah, Tardock. So gap's 4.6. Let's see how quick that comes down. Rob Smith's got a lot of damage to the front of that Ford Mustang. Skunky pulls out to have a look at the moment and dives up the inside. Nicely done. Rob Smith, I think, was basically inviting Skunky through there. That damage obviously hurting Rob Smith and allowing Skunky to not really fight too hard. Heyo's back in after missing, not completed his pit stop last time around, so he's back into the pits. So Clace, Van Zyl, Sylph and De Bont still to pit at the moment, but the man on a mission is this man here, car number 36, Jamal Cloud.
Yeah, absolutely flying he is. Tardock is stuck behind Ben Rook, where he's been now for quite some time, within a couple of tenths, but he can't find a way past the young superstar driver, so he has to follow the back of that Lamborghini lap after lap. Can't get to move forward. So, as you said, the front runner's going very, very long. We'll see how this pans out with O'Reilly still within, 11 seconds of... that's De Bont's 11 seconds. It hasn't updated on my screen just yet. 21 behind De Bont.
Do you want to know what it is for a splash and dash 1 litre pit stop?
3.5 seconds stop time, innit?
It is, but I mean, in and out is 38 seconds. That's for the perfect pit stop, 38 seconds. So 21 seconds behind De Bont, 32 seconds to Sylph. So he'll come out about 6 or 7 seconds clear of Sylph at this rate.
Well, and that's about where he was. So we'll see how that pans out when the last of the pit, which is going to be imminent. We've only got a minute and a half left of the pit window.
Now that is interesting. Van Zyl has done his pit stop, came out on the back of Cloud, and now he's obviously not changed tyres, obviously done the splash and dash, but has jumped down a margin.
Right.
So going long, splash and dashing, Van Zyl came out ahead of Dan Davis. Again, I just think Dan's took these tyres too early. Sylph, by the way, now in.
Yep. And as I said, they're going to have to because only a minute left. So De Bont has gone in as well. So Clace is the only one who hasn't pitted and needs to this lap. But yeah, I think you have... Tardock with a big wiggle behind Ben Rook. I think you're quite right, Matt, that Dan has gone to... I think he's taken a strategy, gambled on strategy, and it hasn't paid off. That's my feeling with what Dan's done this evening. But we will find out. We will find out.
Yeah, we will indeed. Matt Wright coming under a bit of pressure from Hibbs as well down the order. Tardock still on the back of Ben Rook. Tardock's kind of been memorising the back of Ben's Lamborghini now. De Bont and Sylph are done. O'Reilly's at turn 3. Sylph is at turn 2. De Bont's only just left the pit lane. That was Umatoza through. So Williams didn't get him. So at the minute, good stuff so far. So Clouden might only get onto the back of Ben Rook and Tardock, and that'd be it for him. So going long seemed to be the best way to go. Tyres haven't fell off the cliff like we expected them probably though, Kelly.
No.
I think Clouden... I think it's interesting because there's still 5 minutes left. You get a puncher and that could be game over.
I feel that the admins need to have a chat about next season being a 90-minute race or something similar.
I'd be all for getting rid of race 1. 1 hour 30-minute race. Boom. That'd be quite good.
Yeah, you could probably bin off the practice session in between, but I know people like to have that as a comfort break, but very little people use it. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think the admin should talk about it.
There is rumours of...
Rumours?
Rumours already circulating for next season, possibly a split qualifying.
A split qualifying? What? touring car style, Formula One style?
So touring car style, but in the sense of platinum qualify together, gold qualify together, bronze qualify together, silver qualify together.
Okay, wow. I'm sure there's many discussions and changes will be made to make the I was going to say to make the league interesting. It doesn't need to be made interesting. We don't have to change things around for it to be exciting, because it always is. But just to kind of make, as I said, this 70-minute race is, I mean, it's very interesting, but I think that just needs a little bit more jeopardy.
Yeah.
Maybe just an extra 10 minutes, just, you know.
Yeah, no,
a little bit.
Yeah, fully agree.
80-minute race, maybe.
Fully agree.
Because that will definitely put people out of the fuel window.
Well, at the moment, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? Is we are at a period now where the fuel window is kind of at that 70-minute mark, but also the fact of the tyres. I think the tyres is the biggest talking point, because we're at a track which is quite hard on tyres. I think Kota would have been the hardest one. Obviously, we go to the Hungaro ring next week. That could be an interesting one to find out. But I do feel as though Catalonia, maybe tonight, you know, we've clearly seen that Dan taking tyres and Cloudon taking tyres was initially a great strategy. The others, I mean, O'Reilly's possibly saved his tyres up. 6 seconds is his gap to Sylph. He's possibly been able to look after them tyres with the fact that Tardok and Zampolini had a fight, Sylph and Zampolini had a fight, Zampolini then disconnected. So I think he's been able to nurse his tyres better, but let's wait and see. Cloudon now, by the way, Tardok's dropped to a second half behind Ben. Cloudon, 1.5 off the back of Tardok. Just looking at the last lap race time at the moment, Cloudon was 9 tenths quicker than Tardok on the last lap. We're seeing the drivers who haven't changed tyres in them 46, 47 lap times. Jamal in the 45s. Early on in that stint when he changed the tyres, he was in them 1 minute 44s. Clearly them tyres just suffering a little bit. Track temps back up to 41 degrees. Suns came back out. How the pros have survived the elements once again.
Oh, without getting a suntan, you mean? Yeah.
It's just, you know, wet race or nothing now, I think, for the pros.
There's one for the admins. There's one for the admins. Make every race wet for pro.
Mandatory
next
wet
year.
For pro, yeah.
Yeah,
whatever the weather
race.
is, flip it on its head for pro, basically.
It's raining.
Yeah.
It could be the Sahara Desert race. Could be the Dakar. It'd be raining all the way through it. All the way through the Dakar.
That'd be quite remarkable. Rob Ramsell, there's a yellow flag there. That is Rob Ramsell, yellow flag. He's off at turn 4 and he's returned to the pit lane. So he's going to have to come back. Enough? In fact, no, he's not got enough time to come back out on tracks. It'll be a 2-minute wait time, so that'll be Rob. Down the order, he will finish ahead of Stardog. Stardog will be 27th in this one because of the laps down that he is. But I reckon for Rob Ramsell there, that will be his race done, and probably, or more than likely, 26th place. We are currently sat on board with them. Smith and McGowan, who's having a little fight. Let's jump to Cloudon, though. He's right on the back of Tardok now. He's Cloudon. He's had a great fight in this race. Here's Jamal. He's made some great overtakes after losing the first race on the last lap, and now he's got the chance to put a move on Tardok.
Yes, indeed. He's got very close. And again, back end of that Ferrari of Tardok's looking very loose, where the good old trusty McLaren is right there. Got to love that car. So, yes, he's still looking racy, but he's only got probably this. Where is O'Reilly on track? O'Reilly
coming to the line now.
Coming to the line. So, at least we're going to go one more. Final lap. This is the final lap. So, and incidentally, O'Reilly's back in the lead, and like 6 seconds ahead or something like that. So Jamal has got just this lap coming up. He's into the chicane now. Ben Rook goes into the chicane. Tardok goes into the chicane. Jamal goes into the chicane. They're in, they're out. He's got one lap to make this work. What can he do? Can he make another position? Can he make another 2?
Well, I think the earlier Jamal gets this move done, Kelly, I think he's going to have that better chance to attack Ben Rook at the final part of the lap. We've seen the Lamborghini, though, quicker down this start straight than the McLaren. Grip is going to be so vital at the end of this race. Jamal Cloudon down the start finish straight now onto the back of Tardok. This is where Dan took the race win from him last time round. He has a look up the inside, but Tardok covers the door.
He covers the door, but he covered it sideways. absolutely loose as Tardock was through there. The McLaren not enough power to keep with the or to catch the Ferrari in the straight. Superior grip or not, Clouden has a little bit of a wobble, only takes him to the outside of the line, multiple lines through there, so it doesn't really matter as Clouden again gets a little bit hard on the brakes, maybe just worried himself a little bit that he was going to run into the back of Tardock. He's only going to get one shot at this now, I reckon, and that'll be at the end of the back straight. You've got to keep it clean and tidy. Let's not miss the winner either.
Don't you worry, I'm keeping an eye on him.
You've got that. Oh, you're a professional, you are. Yeah, so Clouden up through the S's. Tardock neat and tidy. Clouden follows him through. Tardock at the top of the hill, touching the brakes up there as well. No confidence now at the top of the hill. And the Clouden all over the back. Tardock goes deep onto the curb. Clouden's going to throw one up the inside. Going to do a
Kelly,
send it.
You
no,
keep an eye on that because O'Reilly has just finished the race. He wins it in the Honda. Still's going to come home for a solid second place. Good drive from him. Umatoza looks like he's going to get himself onto the podium. A lovely little drive from Umatoza there then as well. De Bont P4. He's had a solid night, to be fair, as De Bont.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's give him a shout out. Good night from him. Williams looks like he's going to hang on in there for that then of a P5, just ahead of Carlos in this race. The Yin Yang Racing boys. Ben Rook's going to hang on in there for P7. There's Jamal Clouden. He just didn't have enough to get ahead there then of Tardock, who finishes 8th. Clouden 9th with Van Zyl down in 10th place. Dan Davis 11th. That early pit stop for him just costing him at the end of a top 10 result. Snai down the order here. Not the race that he'd have wanted in this one. I'm sure he wanted a couple more places there, but an interesting one none the end. And Mike Matthews here at the very end. Look, he looks like he's just going to survive from that over that of Skunky. Van Zyl with two gold wins. Skunky will take home the 14th place. Good drive from Skunky in this one. He's had a really good race. 15th looks like it's going to go the way of Ian McGowan. Rob Smith is going to come home for that of 16th place ahead of Matt Wright. P17 Hibbs, P18 Harris, P19 Clace down in 20th place. Decent result for him. Lino has already finished in 22nd, so have a few of the other drivers down the order. Kenzo will be 20th place. That's 19th, sorry, for Clace. 20th place for Cairns, although we have lost a couple of drivers, so we'll just give that one a moment to update. But Kelly, what a night worth of action, what a night's worth of drama. Kieran O'Reilly and Dan Davis are your race winners. Driver of the day poll is in the chat. Before the race results come in, I'm just going to make sure I grab the highlights, and I'm sorry John, but I'm going to have to grab the replay as well, just to try and maybe YouTube short that one. So let's save the highlights first before jumping into the Discord chat, and then before grabbing the results at the end, hopefully, as well, as long as I've got time, because this seems to be running a little slow at the moment. So let's do that. Saving replay.
Good evening to Chris Rook in the chat.
Oh, where's he been?
Where have you been? Where have you been all night, Chris? Now you come alive and you say something. Where have you been? Love to know. And those of you still in there, still keep the chat going.
Right.
As we go, there we go. Fred's still in there. Great racing, fellas. Yeah, another good night, Fred. Yeah, absolute cracker again.